Chapter 1081. Then what do you think we should do? The one with the surname Fong is a man of his word. Seeing that their peaceful days were coming to an end, everyone became more and more depressed. Humph! Rat laughed and said, "Isn't it just looking for someone? What's so difficult about that? Let's just post on the forum later." Post on the forum? Are you kidding me? Seeing that Rat actually came up with such a bad idea, everyone could not help but shout. Everyone knew what kind of a crappy place the forum was. Most of the keyboard warriors were good at playing with the keys. With a keyboard in their hands, even old Ma of the Longton group had to lick their shoes. If they were really dragged into the forum, they probably wouldn't even dare to show their faces, let alone deal with evil people like the Chuanjian sect. What's the use of finding this group of trash? Tiger and the others frowned. Rat said, "What do you know? Whether they have the ability or not needs to be compared. What's the use of finding trash?" As the number one think tank of the 12 stars, Rat was a sinister character who could even scheme against Wuji. He naturally considered the problem more thoroughly than others. Listening to this grandson's words, he did not want to find an expert who could deal with Chuanjian. Thinking about it, people of the same trade were enemies. If he really found a group of experts to casually destroy Chuanjian, wouldn't the 12 stars be even more trash? In the end, the 12 stars would still lose their jobs. Instead of finding a strong competitor, it was better to find a group of trash. Although the 12 stars were somewhat unable to raise their heads in front of Chuanjian, this group of people were still professional experts. Compared to the keyboard warriors on the forum, they were obviously superior. At that time, the whole of Windcloud would understand who was the real trash. What was scary was comparing goods. Maybe the whole of Windcloud would have a brain cramp and increase the salary of the 12 stars. When everyone heard this, they suddenly came to a realization and gave a thumbs up in unison. TSK, as expected of the boss, you're brilliant. Of course. Rat smiled and said, "Everyone, go offline and post." Then he said, "By the way, be sure to write clearly that the people we're dealing with this time are Chuanjian and that Iron Ox." "You want to write that too?" everyone said in surprise. "Chuanjian is also very famous now. If we write that we're going to deal with someone, who would dare to come?" "It's better if they don't dare to come." Rat narrowed his eyes and said, "Doesn't this prove our ability? At the very least, the 12 constellations could be used to scheme against Chuanjian. Although it failed in the end, it could only mean that man proposes and God disposes. However, the other party didn't even have the courage to fight. Wasn't it obvious who was stronger and who was weaker?" "That makes sense." Everyone nodded and went offline. Mouse also quit the game. As always, the keyboard users on the forum were playing the role of all kinds of awesome characters and spamming on the forum. For example, he would post a screenshot of his stats to show off. "Everyone, look at my stats panel. Isn't it a little weak?" Then a group of people replied seriously, "It's okay. If we get some good equipment, we'll be able to reach the average level." Such posts abounded. Mouse bared his teeth. After casually looking at these bragging posts, he sent his own post in the same format as others. "Recruiting experts to go to Yu Huiqing to kill Chuanjian. Interested parties, please message me privately." Chuanjian wasn't a nameless person. Moreover, they had recently won the battle to defend the city. Now, whether it was on the forum or in the game, everyone knew about them. Therefore, as soon as Mouse's post was sent out, it immediately attracted the attention of the players on the forum. In less than 5 minutes, the number of hits exceeded 10,000. What kind of person was Chuanjian? He led a city of players and repelled the attack of hundreds of main cities. Now, someone actually said that they wanted to form a group to kill Chuanjian. Couldn't everyone sit down and boast about it? The most annoying thing for braggers was that someone was better at bragging than them. In just a short while, Mouse's post had hundreds of replies. As for the replies, Mouse was busy scrolling through other forums. Of course, he didn't have time to look at them. In fact, Mouse didn't need to look at them to know that the replies were definitely sarcastic. They were also stepping on other people's bragging. However, there was no one who actually messaged Mouse. This was to be expected. After all, these keyboard warriors were all cowards. How would they have the guts to do so? Although Mouse knew that no one would reply to him, he didn't go online. If he went online, Whole of Windcloud would definitely ask him about the expert. Mouse wasn't in the mood to listen to a noob's lecture. After posting a few forum posts, Mouse sat in front of the computer with his chin in his hand and pulled out Minesweeper to kill time. Just as Mouse reached the 8th stage of Minesweeper, he suddenly received a notification from the forum. "You have a new message, please check it." Oh. Someone actually dared to come? Seeing the notification, Mouse was slightly stunned. His face was full of surprise. He quickly closed Minesweeper and opened the mailbox. At this time, a stranger named Crystal Jade sent a message. "Where?" "What where?" Mouse frowned as he replied. Soon, Crystal Jade sent another message. "Didn't you say that you were going to kill Chuanjin? Where did we meet? Could it be that you're joking?" "No. I'm not joking." Mouse quickly replied, "In Sky Dragon City." "Sky Dragon City? That's a very remote place. Can I go directly to you, Huiqing?" Crystal Jade asked. "No." Mouse sent a shaking head emoticon. What a joke. Right now, the safest place was the Heavenly Dragon City. One must know that there weren't many people who had the guts to hunt down the Quanjin sect. What if this guy called Pure Ice Jade Hero was a Quanjin sect disciple in disguise? Mouse had already used this trick on Chuanjin's people, so he would naturally be on guard. Sky Dragon City then. What's your ID? I'll add you as a friend, Crystal Jade said again. Let's not rush to add each other as a friend first. How many people do you have? Mouse asked cautiously. Experts were valued for their quality, not their quantity. Just like the mercenaries hired by Freedom City, they had a lot of people and a lot of money, but they were completely useless. Even if they were recruited by Whole of Windcloud, they wouldn't be interested in them. 7. Pure Ice and Pure Jade said. 7? We're going after Chuanjin. Don't tell me you don't know this. Mouse repeated the purpose of recruiting people in surprise. If it was said that more than 10 people dared to kill Chuanjin, Mouse might still dare to believe it. There was no lack of people in the world who thought that they were infallible. However, 7 people dared to kill Chuanjin. It was a little unbelievable. Even if Mouse wanted to find fewer people, he was still a little surprised. Stop talking nonsense, Crystal Jade said in an unfriendly tone. I'm not talking nonsense with you. Hurry up and send your ID. Chapter 1082. Zishu? What a stupid name. I'm online now. You should come online too. I'll be right there. After receiving Rat's message, Crystal Clear Jade first ridiculed Rat's name, then left a message and closed the message. Looking at Glacial Jade's reply, Rat was dumbfounded. F***CK. I didn't even mock you for having a typo in your name. How dare you mock my name? Although Rat was depressed, he was still an expert. Naturally, he would not be so bored as to argue with a nobody. After closing the message, Rat sent a message to the rest of the 12 stars. I've found them. Hurry up and come online. No way, so fast? The others were as surprised as Rat when they saw Rat's message. It was true that the people in Chuanjin wanted to beat them up, but they were just shouting. Without some skill, who would dare to provoke these bastards? Rat sneered. Who cares if they're fast or not? Since we've found them, it's not our problem whether they can do it or not. After saying that, Rat put on his gaming helmet and went online. Pure Ice Jade wasn't joking. As soon as the 12 constellations came online, Mouse received a friend request. What Mouse didn't expect was that this Pure Ice Jade was actually a female, and her class was a relatively unpopular fighter. If it was in the past, Rat would be like any other player and have a prejudice against the Grandmaster of Combat class. However, after seeing Wang Yu's dungeon, Rat started to become interested in this class. Without thinking, Rat accepted Glacial Jade's friend request. At the same time, Glacial Jade sent a message. Coordinates. There were only 2 words in the message, but the tone was domineering, scaring Rat into a daze. It was not that there were no female experts among professional players, but it was the first time Rat had seen such a domineering woman. XX Tavern. After asking for Whole of Windcloud's opinion, Rat sent the location to Glacial Jade. He then brought his companions to the agreed location. On the way, Rat instructed, later, when the boss asks you to test these people's strength, everyone have to go easy on them. The whole Windcloud was not a fool. Since he had asked Rat and his group to find experts, they would definitely not be able to make do with just a few people. If the pure ice jade heroine was really a famous expert, then it would be fine. But this little girl had never even heard of the famous Zishu. She was most likely a newborn calf that was not afraid of tigers. At that time, if they really got killed in one move by their brother, wouldn't that be a slap to their faces? So, they still had to go easy. Otherwise, if they found out that they had found a bunch of trash, everyone would be embarrassed. Everyone was just trying to make a living. Their goal was to make the whole of Windcloud happy and keep their jobs. Who were they putting in so much effort for? I know. I don't need you to tell me. The 12 constellations seemed to have done this a lot. Just as the mouse finished speaking, everyone impatiently replied. It seemed like they were very familiar with this kind of thing. When he arrived at the tavern, Windy World was already waiting for him at the entrance. A giant black dragon squatted beside Windy World. The dragon bared its fangs, scaring the other players in the tavern into hiding. Windy World seemed to like this. He raised a plate of fish above his head. The giant dragon lowered its head and swallowed the entire plate. Then, it intimately stuck out its tongue and licked Windy World's face like a dog gnawing on a bone. Its behavior was rather arrogant. However, Windy World was even more arrogant. This was a shop owned by the system. A plate of fish cost 10 gold coins. How was it feeding fish? It was practically feeding money. Seeing Windy World's behavior, Rat and the others felt their hearts ache. This prodigal must have bought a lot of pet experience potions to feed this dragon. Just now it was the size of a teddy bear, but now it was almost 2 meters tall. Meow, it would be better to use this money to feed livestock as a bonus. Come, sit here. Seeing that Rat and the others had arrived at the tavern, Windy World invited everyone to sit down and excitedly boasted, "What do you think of my Blackie? I spent tens of thousands of gold coins to feed him to the same level as me." Good. Not bad. Rat and the others were speechless. This bastard. He actually used pet experience potions to feed this dragon to over level 40. What a wastrel. As the Castellan of Sky Dragon City, Windy World had the protection of the guards. Even the Dragon Emperor would not dare to be arrogant in front of the guards, let alone this little black dragon. Raising this thing was purely unnecessary. It couldn't be helped, after all, the rich liked this novelty. It was just like how women liked diamonds. Even if they knew that they were useless and expensive, they still dared to say that they did not want to buy them. Of course, none of us had a girlfriend, so we have never encountered such a problem. I will not rub salt on the wound. Hee hee. Windy World chuckled and said in a good mood, "Oh right, where are the people I asked you to find?" Rat hurriedly said, "They are coming, they will be here in a moment." "Are they all professional players?" Windy World asked. "No. But they are a group of very special experts," Rat said mysteriously. "Isn't it special? I found them on the forum. There are probably no more special players than this." Special. As a super rich second generation, Windy World liked to be unconventional and stand out from the crowd. When he heard that the people recruited this time were special, he immediately became interested and said excitedly, "Then I will have to observe them." Of course, of course. Rat nodded with a smile and raised his eyebrows at the others. However, the others did not have the time to care about Rat. These fellows had already gathered beside Windy World and were discussing the black dragon with their arms crossed. This dragon's scale, this luster, high-class goods are indeed different. Do you guys think this fellow is a male or female? Fifth dragon looked down at the black dragon's crotch and said, It should be a female, it doesn't even have a D***ck. TSK, just nice, you two make a pair. I will be the matchmaker, you will become young Master Feng's son-in-law, Tiger laughed. I'm so envious. Everyone sighed in unison. F***ck. Rat was furious. Do you guys have any proper business? The boss is watching. Everyone was stunned and quickly looked at Windy World. Who knew that Windy World would just sit there and pointed at Fifth Dragon, saying, Your suggestion is not bad. Hey, old dragon, quickly call him father-in-law. F***ck. Rat collapsed. Bang. Just when the group was in a mess, the tavern's door was suddenly pushed open and a group of people walked in aggressively. Chapter 1083. When playing a game, the most important thing was the allocation of classes. Not to mention the fact that Grandmasters of Combat were still very weak. Even if the class was very strong, there were very few teams that would form a team with Grandmasters of Combat. For example, the strongest classes in the game were the Assassin and Warrior, but there was no team that only had these two classes. After all, no matter how strong a single class was, it would not be able to bring out the full effect of the combination of classes. Such a team of people dressed in Grandmaster of Combat attire was indeed very eye-catching. At this moment, a female player who was the leader of the Grandmaster of Combat team stood up and looked around before asking, Who is Zishu? Hearing the female player calling him, Mouse immediately stood up and said, I am Crystal Clear Jade. As the female player spoke, one of the Grandmaster of Combat team behind her quickly wiped a bench and placed it behind her. Crystal Clear Jade expressionlessly sat opposite the whole of Windcloud's group. Witnessing this scene, the whole of Windcloud's group was instantly dumbfounded. Clear Ice Jade didn't even turn her head as she sat down on the bench. Everything was done in such a familiar and natural manner. It could be seen that this girl was already used to this kind of behavior. What was even more surprising was that the Grandmaster of Combat who moved the bench had a proud look on his face. One had to know that the whole of Windcloud was also a very difficult person to serve. However, no matter how difficult it was to serve this guy, he was still the boss and employee of the 12 constellations. He had never treated the 12 constellations as his subordinate. Crystal Clear Jade's behavior was obviously a little uncomfortable to look at. Clatter. The wine glass in the whole of Windcloud's hand fell on the table and asked Mouse blankly, This is the expert you invited? Mouse nodded blankly. He had never thought that he would invite an expert. This was obviously a Grandmaster. As expected of someone with character. The whole of Windcloud wiped his sweat. Seeing the whole of Windcloud's group making a fuss over nothing, Crystal Clear Jade coldly snorted and directly asked Mouse, You are Zishu? Tell me, how do we cooperate? Mouse turned back to look at the whole of Windcloud and said, You have to ask our boss about the cooperation. Mouse was only an employee. With the boss around, naturally, he had no right to speak. Oh? So your words don't count. Then why are you wasting your breath on me? Pure Ice retorted disdainfully at Mouse before turning to face Heavenly Windcloud. F***ck. This arrogant little girl. The 12 constellations were also experts, and they also had to have their own pride. Seeing their boss being humiliated by a nameless little girl, the faces of everyone present were unsightly. All of them glared at Clear Ice and Jade with anger written all over their faces. The Pure Ice Jade seemed to be disdainful of talking to her subordinate. She raised her chin and asked the world of Windcloud, Hey, tell me, How should we cooperate? This was also the first time Windcloud World had met someone who was more arrogant than him. His imposing manner was a little lacking. He scratched the back of his head and asked, "What do you think?" "Very simple," the pure ice jade said. "You guys pay and we'll do the work. You decide how we turn our opponents into. The worse they are, the higher the price." "What?" As soon as the words of the pure ice and jade heroine were spoken, everyone was stunned. Meow, this little girl's tone was too arrogant. The people from Chuanjin were all veteran experts. Compared to professional players, their weaknesses were extremely limited. As for that iron ox, he was even more abnormally strong. This was something that everyone had witnessed. However, when the pure ice jade said this, her expression was very indifferent, as if she was not facing a group of experts, but a group of people who were about to die. This confidence was so strong that it made people feel that this group of people was sick. This, the others did not know, but Heavenly Windcloud was shocked by the pure ice jade's domineering tone. He turned his head and asked Mouse, "Mouse, these are the people you found, do you think they are trustworthy?" Mouse hesitated for a moment before saying, "Miss Ice, the cooperation is not urgent. Actually, our young Master Feng only wants to find some capable experts, and not to compete with his opponents with words." Originally, Mouse thought that finding a few people would be enough, but after the pure ice jade's words, Mouse's heart turned cold. This was King bragging. Mouse felt that he had lost face in front of Heavenly Windcloud. Humph! Seeing that the one talking to her was Mouse, the pure ice jade coldly snorted and said in disdain, "Little bastard, what do you mean?" "Little bastard!" Hearing the pure ice jade's words, even if the 12 constellations were too lazy to bother with a woman, being ridiculed like this, everyone's anger rushed to their heads. "Meow, this chick looks quite pretty, but why is her mouth so vicious?" The hot-tempered fifth dragon directly interrupted and said, "What do you mean? It means that we will not cooperate with a group of bragging trash like you. Do you understand? If you understand, then scram." Hearing fifth dragon's words, the pure ice jade did not get angry. Instead, her slender eyebrows twitched, as if she had just noticed fifth dragon's existence. She pretended to be surprised and said, "Where did you come from, you bastard?" It had to be said that pure ice jade was quite accomplished in the area of humiliating people. That arrogant tone of voice, that contemptuous look in her eyes, even a good-tempered person would have a belly full of fire after just 3 sentences. Not to mention Chen Long's explosive temper that wouldn't take the slightest loss. F***ck. Originally, Fifth Dragon was extremely dissatisfied with the pure ice jade's behavior. Now that he was provoked again, he could not hold back his anger. With a curse, he unsheathed his dagger and activated swift movement to attack. Hee. Seeing Fifth Dragon pouncing towards her, the pure ice jade smiled slightly. Her expression was still indifferent, without the slightest trace of panic. Just as Fifth Dragon's dagger was about to stab into the pure ice jade's body, a Grandmaster of Combat rushed out from behind the pure ice jade and stood in front of her. Without waiting for Fifth Dragon to react, the Grandmaster of Combat's left hand casually reached forward and grabbed Fifth Dragon's wrist that was stabbing towards him. Then, with a forceful twist, Fifth Dragon involuntarily turned around. At the same time, the Grandmaster of Combat used his right arm to clamp Fifth Dragon's neck under his armpit, and with a slight push, the sound of his neck breaking was heard, and Fifth Dragon turned into a flash of white light on the spot. After killing Fifth Dragon, the Grandmaster of Combat acted as if he had done something insignificant. He clapped his hands and calmly returned to Pure Ice's back. At this time, Tiger laughed and teased Fifth Dragon in the party channel, saying, "Motherf asterisk cur, old dragon, your acting skills are not bad. You can go act, why are you a professional gamer?" When Fifth Dragon received the message, he angrily said, "Act your ass, go and try." "What? Don't tell me you were really insta-killed?" Chapter 1084. Chun Long was not a weakling. Whether it was his skills or equipment, Chun Long was one of the best among the 12 stars. Although Chun Long was just a fragile assassin, he had a full set of dark gold equipment. He would not die even if he took a mage's burst attack head-on. Now, he was instantly killed by a Grandmaster of Combat. It was truly shocking. Of course, the group of people from the 12 astrological constellations were only surprised at this time. They didn't have a face full of disbelief like the others in the tavern. After all, it wasn't the first time Fifth Dragon had been knocked down by a Grandmaster of Combat today. Just now, everyone had personally witnessed Fifth Dragon being casually thrown out by Wang Yu. However, this time, the Grandmaster of Combat wasn't so merciful and actually killed him directly. The whole of Windcloud and the 12 stars stared at Glacial Jade and the group of Grandmasters of Combat behind her. They were secretly shocked. Damn! Are all the Grandmasters of Combat so cruel now? Meow, Iron Ox just left and now this group of trash. Could it be that Grandmasters of Combat are the ultimate class in this game? Brother, these are the experts you found on the forums. Are you trying to ruin our jobs? Everyone pointed their middle fingers at Mouse. Just the strength that the Grandmaster of Combat had displayed just now was comparable to Wang Yu's. Inviting such a person was obviously trying to give up his position. Mouse's face was full of grievance. I swear, whoever did it on purpose is a grandson. Faced with the shocked and resentful gazes of the whole of Windcloud, Glacial Jade's face was still as calm as ever. How about it? Can we talk about the price now? Glacial Jade spread her hands and asked the whole of Windcloud calmly. The whole of Windcloud trembled and hurriedly nodded. Yes, yes. As long as you can kill those people from Chuanjin, you can name your price. The whole of Windcloud was raised by the 12 stars from the novice village. The whole of Windcloud was very clear about the 12 stars' abilities. Even though Heavenly Windcloud was scolding Mouse and his group for being trash, he understood that the reason he lost so miserably wasn't because his 12 astral bodies were too weak, but because his opponents were too strong. Therefore, Heavenly Windcloud had only said those words out of anger. He didn't have much hope for Mouse and his group to find any helpers. However, after witnessing the strength of Pure Ice, Pure Jade, and the others, Great Windcloud's desire for revenge was once again ignited. Everyone here was a discerning person. Of course, they could see that these people in front of them belonged to the same level as Chuanjin. With the addition of such a group of people, it was possible that Chuanjin would have to kneel this time. At least you're sensible. Icy Pure Jade said indifferently, we have heard of Chuanjin's group. They are not weak. How about 10,000 gold per level? It seemed that although Crystal Clear Jade's group was strong, they didn't have much of an eye for money. Compared to the strength of Chuanjin's group, 10,000 gold per level was indeed a fair price. The whole of Windcloud was not lacking in money. If he could really teach Chuanjin a lesson, this amount of money was nothing to him. At this moment, the whole of Windcloud immediately displayed the advantage that a rich person should have. In response to Icy Pure Jade's offer, the whole of Windcloud smiled and said, the level is not important. What's important is that these people have my equipment. As long as you can retrieve the equipment, I will buy them all at the original price, be it mine or theirs. Of course, if you can kill them and cause them to drop a level, I will also pay. The price will be the same as what you just said, 10,000 gold per level. Deal. The whole of Windcloud had taken the initiative to increase the price. Naturally, Icy Pure Jade would not reject it. Icy Pure Jade nodded her head in satisfaction. She then stood up and turned around to leave. She came and left in a hurry, and her actions were clean and neat. Seeing that Icy Pure Jade was about to leave, the whole of Windcloud was startled and hurriedly said, Miss Icy, don't leave yet. Why? Icy Pure Jade turned around and glanced at the 12 constellations. Finally, her gaze landed on the whole of Windcloud and said, Do you want to buy me a drink? Sorry, I'm not used to sitting at the same table with trash. F***ck. The members of the 12 constellations trembled in anger. If it were not for the fact that they knew that they could not defeat Icy Pure Jade and her group, they would have already started fighting. No. That's not it. The whole of Windcloud's forehead was filled with black lines as he asked, don't you want a deposit or something? There's no need. Icy Pure Jade smiled lightly and stretched out her index finger. I'm not afraid of you guys going back on your words. After saying that, Icy Pure Jade led her group out of the tavern without looking back, leaving behind a dumbfounded group of people. Seeing that Icy Pure Jade and her group had left, the whole of Windcloud wiped the sweat off his forehead and muttered, F***ck, this girl must be threatening me. Not only was Icy Pure Jade's words straightforward, she was also swift and decisive in her actions. After leaving the tavern, she led her group of people straight to the port. Just as they arrived at the port, the Grand Master of Combat, who had strangled Chunlong to death, suddenly said, Sister, I think that if we want to deal with Chuanjin, we shouldn't go to Yu Huiqing now. Why? Icy Pure Jade turned around to look at the Grand Master of Combat and said, Are you saying that Yu Huiqing is not allowed to enter now? No. The Grand Master of Combat said, Brother Yu is with Yu Huiqing now, I'm afraid. Afraid? Icy Pure Jade snorted coldly, Little Nian, why have you become so cowardly now? Your sister is bringing people to fight for you, and you're telling me that you're afraid? Don't you think that our Li family has lost enough face? Everyone was right. These people were not normal players, they were members of the Li family. If Chuanjin's people were here, they would definitely recognize that Icy Pure Jade was Li Yujie, and the Grand Master of Combat who was reprimanded was Li Yujie's younger brother, Li Yunyan. However, in the game we should call him Nian Luyun. Sister. Nian Luyun seemed to be very afraid of her sister. After being reprimanded by Icy Pure Jade, Nian Luyun lowered her head and said hesitantly, You don't know, Brother Yu is not easy to deal with. I'm afraid that you be ****. Icy Pure Jade said angrily, I'm at a disadvantage? Haven't I been at a disadvantage enough? That Wang guy is bullying us, and you're still trying to boost his morale and belittle your own? Don't you have any shame? You're not allowed to call him Brother Yu, do you hear me? If not, I'll beat you to death. But Brother Yu, he scram. Before Nian Luyun could finish, Icy Pure Jade's almond-shaped eyes widened in anger. She raised her leg and kicked Nian Luyun's leg, causing her to stumble and almost fall. Jia. Jia. Everyone was shocked when they saw the siblings getting into a fight. They hurriedly came over to calm Icy Pure Jade down. Let's talk this out, don't get physical, Icy Pure Jade glared angrily. This disgraceful thing, if he doesn't dare to go, then we'll go. As she spoke, Icy Pure Jade was about to bring her people onto the airship. At that moment the burly Grand Master of Combat, who had been standing not far from Nian Luyun, suddenly said, Jia, I think Nian is right, it's not appropriate for us to go now. Chapter 1085. Iceborne Jade had always been a proud and aloof person, but she seemed to be rather respectful towards this large Grandmaster of Combat. Hearing the large Grandmaster of Combat speak up for Nian Luyun, Iceborne Jade's originally mourning for her misfortune and angry at her lack of ambition quickly calmed down. Although she was somewhat unhappy, Iceborne Jade still spoke softly, Brother 13, why are you saying this too? Are you afraid of Wang too? The Grandmaster of Combat, called Brother 13, smiled lightly. If I was afraid of him, I wouldn't have come with you. I just want to tell you that Wang is the castellan of Yu Huiqing. In Yu Huiqing's territory, we can't defeat him. Why? Pure Ice Jade froze as she heard this. Her head was filled with confusion. 13 pointed to the sky. Because the world is big, and the system is the biggest. Do you think the guards of Yu Huiqing will just watch us attack their castellan? This, Hearing 13's words, Iceborne Jade immediately calmed down. Martial arts practitioners all had a competitive heart. No matter how powerful Wang Yu's strength was, they had so many people and an expert like 13 was here. They were not afraid of Wang Yu. However, everyone had seen the strength of the system guards. Then, if Chuanjin stays in Yu Huiqing and doesn't come out, won't we be in trouble? Iceborne Jade asked after some thought. 13 said, That's not it. It's fine as long as Wang isn't here. Why? Because there is only one Castellan, 13 said calmly. Oh, Iceborne Jade nodded repeatedly. That's right, the only one protected by the guards was the Castellan. As long as Wang Yu wasn't here, Chuanjin and his group wouldn't be able to do much against these martial arts experts. Then, Iceborne Jade frowned. But our target is Wang. What's the point of capturing others? 13 chuckled. Of course we need bait to lure the snake out of its hole. Who said that people with well-developed limbs were simple-minded? This big guy looked like a fool, but his brain worked pretty fast. Indeed, Wang Yu was a very loyal person. If Chuanjin's group was arrested, Wang Yu's character would naturally not sit idly by. As long as Wang Yu left Yu Huiqing's territory, he would no longer be protected by Yu Huiqing's guards. As expected of Brother Sher-san. After understanding the meaning behind 13's words, Icy Pure Jade said with satisfaction, It seems that bringing you here was the right decision. Of course, 13 said proudly. Then what do we do now? Pure Ice Jade asked. Go to Yu Huiqing. Didn't you say, let's go to Yu Huiqing and find a place to hide? When that Wang guy isn't around, we'll make our move immediately. 13 said calmly. Meanwhile, after Chuanjin's group left Sky Dragon City, they returned to Yu Huiqing full of resentment. It could not be helped. It was hard for anyone to be happy after being tormented for so long and almost getting tricked. As they did not take the airship at Sky Dragon City's port, they escaped to other major cities. They did not have a guide in an unfamiliar place. Therefore, when Chuanjin's group stumbled back to Yu Huiqing, it was already 11 p.m. After hours of being lost and finally returning to their homeland, Chuanjin's group felt an unprecedented sense of familiarity. Wuji suggested excitedly, Brothers, do you want to have a drink to celebrate? Get lost. Everyone said angrily, What's there to celebrate? Haha. Wuji said, Firstly, to celebrate our escape from death. Secondly, to celebrate our return to our homeland. Boring. Everyone curled their lips to show that they were not interested. Seeing everyone's reaction, Wuji said, My treat. Where are we going? I don't drink any wine below 1 gold coin. Everyone turned around immediately. These bastards. Wuji clenched his teeth. Old cow, are you going? Wuji poked Wang Yu with his staff and asked. Wang Yu was a guy with a more regular work and rest schedule. Therefore, Wang Yu rarely hung out with Chuanjin at this time. Everyone knew Wang Yu's habits, so Wuji specifically asked. Wang Yu waved his hand and said, You guys go ahead. I won't go. It's so late, I have to go offline. I'll play tomorrow. Don't. Wuji said unhappily, It's not easy for me to treat you. Aren't you going to give me face? Is that so? Wang Yu scratched his head and said seriously, If you feel bad, you can convert it into gold coins and give it to me. F***ck. Wuji said angrily, Get lost. You're getting more and more shameless. Wang Yu chuckled and turned into a faint shadow as he logged out of the game. We're going offline too. After Wang Yu left, Yang Na and Exquisite Dream followed closely behind. Aya, don't learn from old cow. What time is it to go offline? Wuji shouted anxiously. Che. The girls laughed and said, Sleeping late is not good for your skin. Fine, forget it, if you don't want to go, I'll be fine. Wuji waved his hand and did not ask them to stay. They were girls after all. If you don't let them show off, they will fight you with their lives. This was something Wuji deeply understood, especially when it came to the two girls from Chuanjin. Wuji could not afford to offend one of them, and the other one could not defeat him. Naturally, he would not provoke these two ladies at this time. After Wang Yu and the girls left, Chuanjin's group put their arms around each other's shoulders and walked toward the tavern. However, before they could take a few steps, 4 people suddenly jumped out from a corner and stood in front of Wuji's group, blocking their path. Chuanjin's group could be said to have been through hundreds of battles. Naturally, they could see the hostility of the players who were blocking their way. Wuji's group was not kind people to begin with. Now that they were in Yu Huiqing's territory, they were certainly not in a good mood when they saw someone blocking their way. This was especially true for Chuanjin's group. First, they were ambushed and then they got lost. They had a belly full of anger waiting to be unleashed. Seeing someone provoking them, the hot-tempered Mingdu drew his staff and pointed it at the people blocking the way. Good dogs don't block the way. Get lost before I start killing. How arrogant. As soon as Mingdu finished speaking, a woman's voice came from the front. Bastards from Chuanjin, where are you going to die? As she spoke, the 4 people blocking the way moved to the side. At this time, a man and a woman walked out from behind. It's you and Memory Luyun. Seeing the 2 people, the Chuanjin's group was shocked. They subconsciously drew their weapons to protect their chests, and at the same time, they took a few steps back. As Chuanjin's nemesis, Memory Luyun had fought with Chuanjin many times. Naturally, Wuji's group knew her. On the other hand, Crystal Jade had met her not long ago in Jiangbei. Although they didn't know her name, they had heard rumors about this young lady and Wang Yu. Chapter 1086. Breaking off an engagement and slapping someone's face had always been a popular tactic. The saying, "The river flows east for 30 years, then west for 30 years. Don't bully a young man for being poor," made one's blood boil. Unfortunately, Wang Yu was playing the role of the person who would be slapped in the face in the usual routine. As for whether Icy Clear Jade and her group could even touch Wang Yu's face, Chuanjin did not dare to make a direct judgment. After all, they were facing a group of kung fu experts. However, the Chuanjin people could basically confirm that as Wang Yu's companion, they had already been classified as an accomplice. Now that they were blocking their way, it was obvious that they did not come with good intentions. Seeing that the Chuanjin people recognized her, Icy Clear Jade smiled and said, "I didn't expect you to know me. So, are you going to surrender or do you want us to make a move?" As expected, this little girl was here for revenge. Hearing Icy Clear Jade's words, the Chuanjin people felt as if 10,000 wolves were galloping in their hearts. There was no need to mention the depression in their hearts. In fact, among Icy Clear Jade's group, the Chuanjin people had only seen Yan Liuyun's ability. Although they had not fought with the others directly, they had seen their videos. They could confirm that the opponents were all kung fu experts. The people from the Chuanjin sect were not professional martial arts critics, so they could not tell how much of a difference there was between these martial arts experts and Wang Yu. However, there was one thing they could be sure of. An expert of this level was definitely not someone ordinary people like them could deal with. It could not be helped. After hanging out with Wang Yu every day, Chuanjin people had the most direct experience of how abnormal kung fu experts were. Now that they were facing so many abnormal people, everyone felt a deep sense of pressure. Thinking of this, everyone could not help but complain about Wang Yu. Meow, such a beautiful girl, how could the old cow just leave her like that? We have to suffer because of her. Of course, although that was the case, it was just the instinct of Chuanjin people to complain about each other. Chuanjin was not the kind of person who would retreat when faced with difficulties. To this group of people, even if the opponent could swallow them alive and turn them into shit, they had to be the thing that the opponent hated the most. As Icy Clear Jade spoke, the group of people were already ready for battle. At this time, hearing the words of the pure Ice Jade, Wuji laughed out loud and stood up. Miss, we have no enmity in the past, why do you have to do this? Oh. I see. Pure Jade raised her eyebrows, is that so? Of course. Wuji said righteously, we of Chuanjin have always been chivalrous and upholding world peace as our duty. We're the role model for all players. We've never done anything shameful, let alone offending a beautiful lady like you. If you have any personal grudges, please look for the person involved. Even an upright official can't settle a family dispute. Humph. Well said. Crystal Clear Ice laughed coldly. She suddenly stretched both her hands behind her. Suddenly, two wretched figures holding daggers appeared in the air behind Crystal Clear Ice. Who else could it be but Ming Jian Daoxue and Baiming Yuyu? Baiming Yuyu was fine. Her reaction speed was much faster than a normal person's. After being pushed by Crystal Clear Ice, she took 2 steps back, then immediately used second stage stealth and disappeared again. Ming Jian Daoxue was slightly weaker. In terms of real strength, Ming Jian Daoxue was only a normal expert. Most of his skills were in his equipment. He could bully normal people, but in front of these martial arts experts, he was not enough. After being forced back to his original form by Crystal Clear Ice, at the same time, a Grandmaster of Combat beside Crystal Clear Ice quickly rushed in front of Ming Jian Daoxue. Without waiting for Ming Jian Daoxue to use second stage stealth, the Grandmaster of Combat casually grabbed Ming Jian Daoxue's arm and twisted it behind his back. Immediately after, the Grandmaster of Combat pressed down, pressing Ming Jian Daoxue to the ground. Damn! Seeing Ming Jian Daoxue being captured, everyone was shocked. No matter how weak Ming Jian Daoxue was, he was still an awakened expert. His basic attributes were also quite high. Yet, he had actually been captured in a single move. Even though everyone was mentally prepared for this group of people's strength, seeing this scene, they could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Crystal Clear Ice looked at Ming Jian Daoxue, who was pressed on the ground and unable to move, with extreme disdain. She calmly said, "Pierce, tie this little thief up. Don't let him kill himself." Okay. The Grandmaster of Combat, who was called Pierce, nodded. He immediately stepped on Ming Jian Daoxue's head, took out a rope, and deftly tied Ming Jian Daoxue's left hand and right leg together behind his back, then threw him to the side. It was not hard to see that Crystal Clear Ice and her group were quite accomplished in the field of kidnapping. When a player encountered an emergency, they could kill themselves and return to the revival point. However, committing suicide required a throat-slitting action. This Pierce guy directly tied Ming Jian Daoxue's left hand and right leg behind his back. Now, Ming Jian Daoxue was like a tied-up crab. Even moving was a problem, let alone killing himself. Seeing Ming Jian Daoxue in such a state, everyone from Chuanjin felt sad. Crystal Clear Ice looked coldly at Wuji and said, "What do you think? Now we can't say that there is no enmity between us, can we?" Haha. Wuji laughed and said, "What are you talking about? I don't know this person." As he spoke, Wuji sent a message in the channel, "Brother Spring and I will cover everyone's retreat. Mingdu, attack Ming Jian Daoxue. Don't leave him alive." As he spoke, Wuji raised his hands, and Bao San and Yin Lao Air activated invincibility. The two of them activated charge in the opposite direction. At that time, Spring Soar waved his staff, and a dark barrier rose up. He lined up with the 6 huge demons, forming a wall between the two sides. Mingdu raised his staff, and a bolt of lightning descended from the sky, striking Ming Jian Daoxue's head through the wall. In the game, being captured alive was far more terrifying than being dead. This was something that Chuanjin understood better than anyone, especially Ming Jian Daoxue. He had done things like stealing equipment from others many times. If he was captured alive, who knew how terrible his fate would be? Rather than that, it was better to kill him. After all, dying would only reduce his experience by 10%. If he was captured, it was very likely that he would be stripped naked and hung on the city wall. However, Pure Ice and the others naturally wouldn't just watch as Mingjian Daoxue was rescued. Seeing Mingjian Daoxue hurl a lightning spell at him, Daopa didn't say anything else. He lifted his leg and kicked Mingjian Daoxue. Mingjian Daoxue's body slanted to the side, and the lightning just happened to brush past Mingjian Daoxue before landing on the ground. F***CK. Seeing that he did not manage to rescue Mingjian Daoxue with one move, Mingdu cursed. He was about to cast another spell when he saw a black shadow fly over the dark barrier and land in front of Mingdu. Thought Lu Yun. After seeing who it was, Mingdu was shocked. He turned around and was about to teleport away when Thought Lu Yun formed a claw and grabbed Mingdu's shoulder, pulling him back. Chapter 1087. Seeing the group of people in front of him, Mingdu's head was filled with question marks. He doubted his life for a moment, then he picked up his staff and smashed it down on Crystal Jade's head. Everyone knew that mages were physically weak and were a typical long-range class. Mages who engage in melee combat are not mages, they're called drunk from 1,000 miles, from Teacher Butterfly Blue's close combat mages in online games. Mingdo was such a shameless person, but he couldn't be compared to Teacher Gu. This brat didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. At such a close distance, any close combat profession could beat him up, let alone a group of kung fu experts like Crystal Jade. As soon as Mingdo's staff was thrown out, a few men beside Crystal Clear Jade immediately pounced on it, and in a few seconds, Mingdo was trampled on the ground. Mingdu crawled on the ground and begged, "Big sis, don't do that, I was just joking. You're so pretty, old cow would be blind if he didn't want you. You're a great person and don't hold grudges against him. For my sake, don't lower yourself to his level." Crystal Jade was already wary of Wang Yu breaking off the engagement. It would have been better if Mingdu didn't say it, but as soon as he said it, Crystal Jade's face darkened. "Pull him up." Crystal Jade glared at Mingdu and ordered. When Daopa heard this, he stretched out his hand and lifted Radiant City up. "Pa pa 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 pa." Crystal Jade slapped Mingdu a few times, then said with a darkened face, "Tie him up?" "Okay." Daopa answered and was about to tie Mingdu up. At that moment, Mingdu's hands that were pulled behind his back made a strange gesture. Suddenly, a fire burst out from under everyone's feet. Crystal Jade and the others were better off as they were further away from Mingdu. When they felt the heat wave under their feet, they quickly jumped back out of Mingdu's magic range. Daopa was in a worse situation. He was trying to tie up Mingdu with a rope. He couldn't dodge in time and was instantly burned into a ball of white light. "Ha! You want to catch me? It won't be that easy." Mingdu laughed, turned around, and ran. "Bastard! Where do you think you're going?" At this moment, Crystal Ice and Jade shot forward like an arrow. With a wave of her right hand, an incomparably long great spear appeared in her hand. "Go!" Following that, Icy Pure Jade let out an angry roar and thrust her spear forward, piercing through Mingdu's ankle and nailing him to the ground. Mingdu was caught off guard and his foot was pierced. He screamed and fell to the ground. "Damn you! How can this girl run so fast?" Mingdu cursed as he turned his head. When he saw the great spear in Ice Pure Jade Maiden's hand, he was immediately stunned. The spear in Crystal Pure Jade's hand should be specially made. It was more than 3 meters long, which was more than a meter longer than the ordinary spears used by knights. Mingdu didn't learn kung fu, so he couldn't understand why Crystal Pure Jade Maiden's spear was so long. However, he knew that using this thing to stab someone, even if they had to run a few meters first, they wouldn't have to worry about running away. After putting Mingdu down, Crystal Pure Jade followed closely behind and arrived in front of Mingdu. She casually put away her great spear and kicked Mingdu, causing him to tumble on the ground. As the saying goes, learn from the mistakes of the past. What technique Mingdu used just now obviously couldn't escape the eyes of the observant kung fu experts. In order to make Mingdu behave, Everyone specially used 2 ropes to tie up Mingdu's left leg and right hand behind his back, while his right leg and left hand were tied in front of him. This posture would definitely embarrass any yoga expert. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in a game, Mingdu's small body would have already been torn to pieces. After everyone wrapped up Mingdu and threw him next to Mingjian Daoshua, thought Lu Yun had already taken down both Wuji and Spring Soar. No matter how skilled Wuji and Spring Soar were, they were only support classes. They couldn't do anything in front of a PvP class like Thought Lu Yun. Moreover, Thought Lu Yun was very strong, and only had a few weaknesses compared to Wang Yu. Dealing with Wuji and Spring Soar was obviously a piece of cake. At this moment, apart from Bao San, Yin Lao Er, and Bai Ming Yu, only To Place One's Pride was left. In front of him was Crystal Pure Jade, and behind him was Thought Lu Yun. To Place One's Pride could be said to be surrounded by strong enemies. To Place One's Pride had a serious expression on his face. He leaned against the wall and stared at everyone, ready to strike. To Place One's Pride may have been foolishly bullied by these old foxes, but he was actually the one who understood the situation the best. As a grandmaster of combat, To Place One's Pride knew his own limits. He knew that he was no match for them in terms of technique, but as an awakened expert, To Place One's Pride had 2 ultimate skills, Rapid Shadow Kick and Triple Thunderbolt Kick. These 2 skills could instantly kill someone at this stage. As long as he found the right time, it wasn't hard to kick an opening and escape. Seeing that To Place One's Pride was still resisting stubbornly, Thought Lu Yun had a good impression of him. She stared at To Place One's Pride and said, "Kid, seeing that you're a grandmaster of combat, I won't make things difficult for you. Just come with us and save yourself some physical pain." To Place One's Pride raised his head and looked at Thought Lu Yun. Just as he was about to kick him, the ground behind Thought Lu Yun, where Wuji and Bai Ming Yu had been thrown, moved. Then, Bai Ming Yu's head popped out from the ground. At this moment, Icy Jade pointed at Bai Ming Yu and shouted, "Not good, little Nian. There's someone behind you." Thought Lu Yun was startled. Turning around, he saw Bai Ming Yu holding a dagger and cutting the rope on Wuji's hand. In the blink of an eye, Thought Lu Yun turned around and kicked at Bai Ming Yu. "Now! Rapid Shadow Kick." To Place One's Pride's eyes narrowed. He kicked at Thought Lu Yun's back. Feeling the murderous intent behind him, Thought Lu Yun quickly rolled forward, dodging To Place One's Pride's flying kick. At the same time, To Place One's Pride leaped into the air, spreading his wings and flying into the sky. Bai Ming Yu also took the opportunity to use Earth Escape and burrow into the ground. "Fuck!" Seeing To Place One's Pride and Bai Ming Yu run away, Icy Jade cursed, pointing at To Place One's Pride in the sky. "Don't worry about the one burrowing into the ground. Dao Ming, stay here and watch. Everyone else, follow me and chase after the one in the sky." As she spoke, Icy Jade ran a few steps and stepped on the wall to fly up to the room. Thought Lu Yun and the rest followed closely behind, jumping onto the roof. Flying in the sky had an advantage over running on the ground, mainly because flying in the air would not be affected by the terrain, and could walk in a straight line. However, against Icy Jade's group of experts, To Place One's Pride's advantage in flying clearly wasn't that outstanding. After all, Icy Jade's group were martial arts experts, and their proficiency on the roof wasn't much lower than Wang Yu's. Although running on the roof wasn't as unaffected by the terrain as using flight, most of the time they could still walk in a straight line. Chapter 1088. To Place One's Pride blindly flew around while Pure Ice and the others chased after him. Finally, To Place One's Pride flew to the south of the city. To Place One's Pride's flying time was used up and Place One's Pride fell into the alley below. At this moment, a familiar figure appeared in front of To Place One's Pride. Seeing that figure, To Place One's Pride shouted, as if he was grasping at straws, "Sister Nyo, save me." That's right, the person who appeared in the alley was Mu Zixin. With Wang Yu as her living signboard, Mu Zixin's business had always been good. Today it was even better. She had been busy until now and it was already 11 at night. Mu Zixin was planning to close the shop when she heard someone call her. She looked towards the direction of the voice. Seeing that the person calling for help was actually to place one's pride, Mu Zixin couldn't help but be startled. One had to know that Xuanzhen's name in Yu Huiqing was like the sun in the sky. Even a big guild like Blood Alliance had to stay away from them. To place one's pride was running away in such a sorry state, it was really weird. Mu Zixin asked in confusion, "It's little chick, what's wrong?" Don't ask." To place one's pride hurriedly said, "Someone is chasing me, let me hide in the shop." As he said that, To place one's pride ran into Mu Zixin's shop. Mu Zixin was dumbfounded. To place one's pride was quite an expert. What kind of person could chase this kid like this? Could it be Wang Yu? No, Wang Yu wasn't online right now. Mu Zixin looked at her friends list and felt even more weird. Although it was strange, To place one's pride was Wang Yu's friend. To place one's pride entered the grocery store. Mu Zixin quickly ordered the store to close. At that time, Icy Pure Jade and the others had also caught up to them. Seeing that there were people in the alley below, they jumped down from the roof. Nian Luyun walked in front of Mu Zixin and asked politely, "Miss, did you see a child just now?" Mu Zixin frowned slightly. She sized up Nian Luyun, then smiled and said, "Kid, are you a grandmaster of combat?" Yes. Nian Luyun nodded. "Aren't you?" Mu Zixin said with a faint smile. "It's not me," Nian Luyun said anxiously. "It's a kid younger than me, about 18 or 19 years old. He's also a grandmaster of combat." "Oh." Mu Zixin nodded and said, "You mean that child? I saw him." "Where did he go?" Nian Luyun asked again. Mu Zixin pointed at the alley entrance and said, "He ran that way." "Thank you, miss." Nian Luyun gave Mu Zixin a fist salute. Just as she was about to run toward the alley entrance, Icy Pure Jade suddenly said, "Wait! What's wrong, sister?" Nian Luyun stopped and asked curiously when she heard Icy Pure Jade's voice. Humph. The Pure Ice Jade heroine coldly snorted and walked in front of Mu Zixin. She looked at Mu Zixin and said, "Miss, you look familiar. Have we met before?" When Mu Zixin heard this, she hurriedly turned her head to look at Icy Pure Jade. Their eyes met and the two ladies were stunned. They pointed at each other and said in surprise, It's you. Sister, do you know this lady?" Nian Luyun saw Icy Pure Jade's reaction and asked curiously. "Nonsense," Icy Pure Jade said in an unfriendly tone. "I can recognize her even if she turns into ashes. Tie her up." What did you say?" Hearing Icy Pure Jade's order, Nian Luyun was still unable to react. Icy Pure Jade pointed at Mu Zixin and said, "I told you to tie her up. This isn't good." When Nian Luyun reacted to Icy Pure Jade's order, she was even more confused. She was clearly chasing after Xuanzhen's men. Why was she competing with a lady on the side of the road? "What do you know?" Icy Pure Jade pointed at Mu Zixin and said, "She's that little bitch." Mu Zixin was not the type to be insulted. Hearing Icy Pure Jade scolding her, she immediately became angry and said, "Watch your mouth. Who is the little bitch scolding?" Icy Pure Jade pointed at Mu Zixin and said, "So what if the little bitch scolds you?" Mu Zixin took advantage of the situation with her mouth. She smiled and turned to leave. At this time, Icy Pure Jade shouted at Nian Luyun anxiously, "What are you waiting for? Don't let her get away." Nian Luyun was also a smart child. For someone to make Icy Pure Jade so agitated, Nian Luyun did not need to think too much to guess. Thus, he immediately rushed over to block Mu Zixin's path. Mu Zixin was only a level 10 smurf. Her gaming skills were on the other end of the spectrum compared to Wang Yu. How could she be a match for Nian Luyun? In one round, Mu Zixin was captured by Nian Luyun. Nian Luyun was an honest child. Seeing that Mu Zixin was a woman, he did not tie her hands and feet together like the rest of Chuanzhen's men. He only tied Mu Zixin's hands behind her back. "Let me go! Let me go!" Mu Zixin screamed as she struggled. However, Nian Luyun and the others were very experienced in tying knot. Even Wuji and the rest were unable to break free, let alone a small fry like Mu Zixin. No matter how much Mu Zixin screamed or struggled, it was useless. After capturing Mu Zixin, Icy Pure Jade seemed to be in a good mood. Originally, she only wanted to capture Chuanzhen's men as bait. Who would have thought that there would be an unexpected reward? With Mu Zixin as a hostage, she did not believe that Wang Yu would not come to rescue her. Mu Zixin screamed and struggled, causing Nian Luyun to feel helpless. However, Icy Pure Jade was not angry. Instead, she said with a look of enjoyment, "Continue screaming. I like seeing you like this." Hearing Icy Pure Jade's words, Mu Zixin was stunned. She glared at Icy Pure Jade and said, "You perverted woman." Icy Pure Jade spread her hands and smiled. "So what? If you want to scream, scream loudly. I'm very happy just listening to you." Humph. Hearing this, Mu Zixin coldly snorted and said no more. Seeing Mu Zixin shut up, Icy Pure Jade's face flashed with a proud smile. "Let's go. Let's meet up with the others." "We're leaving just like that?" Nian Luyun asked stubbornly. "Aren't we going to capture that kid?" "Idiot." Icy Pure Jade poked Nian Luyun's head with her finger. Then, she pulled the rope on Mu Zixin's hand and said, "She's enough. Why waste the effort to capture a piece of trash? Let's go." Saying this, Icy Pure Jade personally dragged Mu Zixin out of the alley with Nian Luyun and the others. Behind the door of the miscellaneous goods store, To Place One's Pride saw that Mu Zixin had been captured in order to save him. He fell on his butt. To Place One's Pride felt a chill run down his spine. To Place One's Pride panicked as he leaned on the door and said with a trembling voice, "And I. Motherf *Ker, Sister Nyo has been captured. I'm in big trouble. I'm going to die." Chapter 1089. Everyone in Chuanzhen knew that Wang Yu was a henpecked man. Don't think that Wang Yu was usually quiet and didn't have a temper with anyone. If anyone dared to bully his wife, they could just wash their necks and wait. Originally, if Pure Ice dared to capture Mu Zixin, it was purely courting death. But now that Mu Zixin was captured to Place One's Pride, the situation was completely different. Although Gao also knew that Wang Yu wasn't the kind of person who liked to vent her anger on others, it also depended on the time. If it involved Mu Zixin, Gao really didn't dare to be sure that he wouldn't be punished together with her. Especially after seeing Pure Ice's attitude towards Mu Zixin, To Place One's Pride could almost see Wang Yu chasing after him with a knife in hand. In the game, players couldn't go offline unless they were out of combat. Even if they were forced to go offline during combat, the game character would still remain in the game. Now that Mu Zixin and the others were tied up, they definitely couldn't leave combat. Therefore, Mu Zixin had to think twice before going offline. As for what Pure Ice would do after kidnapping Mu Zixin, To Place One's Pride didn't dare to imagine. The more one understood Wang Yu, the more one would know how terrifying Wang Yu was. To Place One's Pride and Wang Yu had mingled together for so long. To Place One's Pride was getting more and more afraid after causing such a huge incident. How could he dare to think of something even more terrifying? Of course, To Place One's Pride might be afraid, but as a member of Chuanzhen, To Place One's Pride was a rather responsible person. After being stunned for a moment, To Place One's Pride clenched his teeth and made up his mind. Damn it, I can only take responsibility for the trouble I caused. If I really can't handle it, I'll just kill Sister Nyo. That's better than being kidnapped. I have to settle this matter before Old Cow explode. Otherwise, no one will be able to escape responsibility. To Place One's Pride stood up and walked out of the shop. Then, he followed the path he came from. At this time, Clear Ice, Clear Jade, and thought Lu Yun had already brought Mu Zixin to the place where Chuanjun was blocked and met up with the others. Wu Ji and the others were tied up and thrown into a corner, looking quite miserable. It couldn't be helped. According to the game settings, players would not be protected if they were forced to log out of the game. Chuanjun's group was fully geared with top-tier equipment, so they did not dare to log out of the game at this time. Otherwise, they would suffer a huge loss if even one of their equipment was stolen. Plop! Icy pure jade bluntly threw Mu Zixin, not too far away from Wu Ji and the others. When Wu Ji and the rest saw Mu Zixin's appearance, they were all stunned. Damn, this group of bastards, don't they know that they're holding a nuclear warhead? After a long time, Wu Ji cried in horror, "What do you want to do? If you have any problems, just come at us. Why do you want to catch this girl? Why do you want to make things difficult for other women?" Icy pure jade glanced at Wu Ji and ignored him. Then, he asked his subordinates, "Who else is not here yet?" Thought Lu Yun looked around and said, 13 went to catch those two warriors. He's not back yet. I'm back. Just as Thought Lu Yun finished speaking, a burly figure jumped down from the roof. It was 13, who had chased after Bao San and Yin Lao Air at the start. Duong. Duong. After 13 landed, he loosened his grip and threw the tightly bound Bao San and Yin Lao Air to the ground. He said with lingering fear, "Damn, I really can't underestimate this group of gaming geeks. I was almost killed by them just now. Why did they catch a girl?" As he spoke, 13 also glanced at Mu Zixin, who was on the ground and was very surprised. Icy Pure Jade said coldly, "They're taking Wang's wife. TSK, Wang's luck with women is not bad." 13 chuckled and sighed as he walked towards Mu Zixin. "You don't come over." Mu Zixin saw 13 walking towards her and was shocked. She retreated in a panic. Seeing this, Icy Pure Jade's eyes narrowed. He pulled out his spear and thrust it forward. Whoosh! Icy Pure Jade's spear stabbed in front of 13, blocking his path. 13 was shocked by Icy Pure Jade's sudden attack. He turned around and glared at Icy Pure Jade. "You! What's the meaning of this?" Icy Pure Jade pulled back her spear, leveled her gaze at 13 and said, "Nothing much. I'll take care of this girl myself. If you don't want to die, you'd better behave yourself." "You!" 13's face darkened. It seemed like he was not done with Icy Pure Jade. "What do you want?" When Yen Lu Yun and the others saw 13's reaction, they took a step forward and stood in front of Glacial Jade. Haha, 13 knew he wouldn't be able to take advantage of Nien Liuyun's group. He glanced at Nien Liuyun's group and laughed. "I was just joking. You don't have to be like this. Boss has the final say, alright? At least you know what's good for you." Icy Pure Jade coldly looked at 13. He quickly walked to Mu Zixin's side and put her on his shoulder. "You guys carry the others. Let's go." As she spoke, Icy Pure Jade brought Mu Zixin to the nearby port. The others also scooped up the captured Chuanjun members from the ground and followed behind Pure Ice and Pure Jade. Seeing that Icy Pure Jade had saved her, Mu Zixin said, "I didn't know that you had a bottom line." Don't try to get close to me." Icy Pure Jade coldly said, "I just don't want that brat to have his account deleted by the system for harassing a female player." "Is that so?" Mu Zixin was skeptical. "Shut up." The Pure Ice Jade glared at Mu Zixin, then ignored her. Indeed, right now, Pure Ice Jade's group kidnapping the Quanjin sex people could already be considered as pushing the boundaries of the system. If they went a bit further, it could even be considered as harassment. If 13 really was judged as harassment by the system, then Pure Ice Jade's group would also be implicated. Deleting their accounts was a small matter. They might even have to go to jail. Of course, this was only one of the reasons. Although Icy Pure Jade was arrogant and despotic, she was a martial artist after all. She wasn't a bad person. Everything she did was dictated by her personality. Wuji said it so well. Why would a woman make things difficult for another woman? Icy Pure Jade knew what to do and what not to do in this situation. After all, she only wanted to take revenge on Wang Yu. Hatred always made people lose their way. It was only 300 to 400 meters from the blocked streets of Chuanjian to the port. Soon, Icy Pure Jade's group boarded the airship heading towards Tianlong City. Just as the airship took off, Mu Zixin received a private message from Wuji, Sister Niu, forcefully log off. Forcefully log off? Is that okay? Mu Zixin asked. Wuji said, this is a safe zone. It's fine. What about you guys? Mu Zixin asked again. Wuji said, it's useless to forcefully log off in this state. When the airship arrives at the port, it will still be towed away. Aren't I the same? Mu Zixin was puzzled. Chapter 1091. According to the system settings, after Wuji and the others logged off, their characters would still exist. Even if they forcefully logged off, they wouldn't be able to stop their characters from being dragged to another city's port by Pure Ice and the others. Therefore, there was no point for Wuji and the others to log off right now. Mu Zixin, on the other hand, needed at least half an hour to travel from one city's port to another. This half an hour was more than enough for Mu Zixin to log off and call for Wang Yu. Against this group of people, Wang Yu had to be the one. After all, only martial arts could defeat martial art. Mu Zixin wasn't a stubborn person. After hearing Wuji's words, she nodded and chose to forcefully log off. As a martial arts practitioner, Wang Yu had to eat small meals every day to maintain a balanced diet. Therefore, he had to eat something every day after logging off. Therefore, under normal circumstances, Mu Zixin would log off early to cook for Wang Yu. At this time, Wang Yu logged off happily and saw that Mu Zixin was still in the game. He didn't disturb her. He washed his face, pulled out a shirt from the clothes rack, and put it on before leaving. Pure Ice and the others were very efficient. From the time Wang Yu logged off to the time Mu Zixin and the others were captured, only a few minutes had passed. After Mu Zixin forcefully logged off, she wanted to call for Wang Yu to come online and save them. However, she unexpectedly found that Wang Yu wasn't home. This wasn't the most tragic thing. What was even more tragic was that Wang Yu never had the habit of bringing his cell phone outside. Seeing that Wang Yu wasn't home, Mu Zixin's expression changed. Where did he go? Why didn't he tell me? Did he have an affair? Little Na seems to have logged off early today as well. Could it be the two of them? No way. How could it not be? There isn't a single good man in this world. Reality had proven that when a woman was anxious, her thoughts would not follow any rules. Mu Zixin was also a woman. At this moment, when she could not see her husband, her brain circuit directly broke through the horizon. As for the crisis of Chuanjian's survival, it had long been tossed beyond the highest heavens. She had no choice. How could she allow others to sleep beside her bed? Especially when Yang Na and Wang Yu had such a relationship. In addition to Li Yujie's recent harassment, it was hard for Mu Zixin's imagination to run wild. Just as Mu Zixin was about to go to the opposite house to ask about the situation, the door of the house rang. Then Wang Yu walked in with a plastic bag. Seeing that Wang Yu had returned home, Mu Zixin angrily rushed over and angrily asked, "What were you doing so late at night? Did he go out with another woman?" Hearing Mu Zixin's words, Wang Yu's head was instantly filled with black question marks. Well, what nonsense are you talking about? What a mess! Wang Yu asked with a dumbfounded look. Mu Zixin said angrily, "What do you think I'm saying? Look at the time and you still went out. You still dare to say that I'm a mess?" Wang Yu held back a mouthful of blood and said while holding the plastic bag, "I went out to buy food, really?" Mu Zixin glanced at the plastic bag in Wang Yu's hand and asked doubtfully. Wang Yu broke down and said frantically, "Then what else can I do? If you don't believe me, you can ask the owner of the restaurant outside the district." This meal was taken from him. He didn't even ask me for money. Mu Zixian took another look at the lunchbox. When she saw the restaurant's logo on the lunchbox, Mu Zixian nodded and said, "All right, I guess you managed to fool me. I'll forgive you if you apologize to me, see that? This is a woman. In the future, if you are lucky enough to find a girlfriend, you must remember Uncle Nyo's teachings. Don't reason with women. Forgive?" Wang Yu was depressed again. What did I do wrong? Of course, Chuanzhen's model of loving his wife, Brother Chun, said, "A real man has to be responsible. If your wife says you are wrong, then you are wrong. Talking back is not a good comrade." Wang Yu remembered his senior's teachings. He knew how to be a husband, so he lowered his head and apologized to Mu Zixian. "That's more like it. Let's eat." Mu Zixian took the lunchbox with a satisfied smile and went into the kitchen to put the rice that Wang Yu bought into the dishes. The two of them happily ate supper. "Speaking of which, you went offline quite late today," Wang Yu asked while eating. The restaurant was busy." Mu Zixian answered casually. "Are you done now?" Mu Zixian thought about it and said, "I should be done, but I keep feeling that there's something I haven't done." Wang Yu said, "Don't think about it if you can't remember. Let's eat first." "All right, speaking of which, today's dishes seem a bit salty." "Is that so? Then eat more buns." At the same time, Wuji and the others in the game were already in tears. Chun Xiang looked at the time. 20 minutes had passed and the airship was about to reach the port. Thus, he asked Wuji weakly, "Wuji, do you think that old cow's wife is reliable?" "I can't say for sure." Wuji was also terrified. How troublesome could it be to just go offline and call someone? It had already been 20 minutes, and they still hadn't returned. Could it be that there was a power outage? No matter how smart Wuji was, he was just an old bachelor. He couldn't figure out why Mu Zixian had forgotten about them. It had been so long, but Wang Yu still hadn't come online. He could only think of external reasons. "Humph!" Bao San snorted. "I told you, women can't be relied on." "It's over, it's over," Mingdu shouted in despair. "I think these bastards will definitely find a resurrection point to kill us 100 times after reaching the port. They'll kill us until we're level 0 and steal our equipment at the same time. It can't be. The resurrection point is a safe zone. How can they kill people?" Famous Sword Daoshua questioned. Mingdu said angrily, "Are there no resurrection points that aren't safe zones?" Everyone was indifferent. At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly whispered, "Yes, the resurrection point of the guild encampment isn't a safe zone. As long as each of you gives me 10,000 gold coins, I'll save you." "Little chick? You're so stupid, why didn't you get caught?" Everyone heard this voice and hurriedly looked in the direction of the voice. They saw a guy in a cloak sitting in a corner not far from them. F***CK. Hearing everyone's words, the cloaked guy's body trembled. F***CK, you guys can even see through my disguise? Everyone said, "Of course. You can even smell the smell of a real dog's voice against the wind. What the F***CK are you doing here? Sending us family joy?" To place one's pride said angrily, "Bullsh***. Of course I'm here to save you. Hurry up and pay up. Otherwise, you'll be dragged to the guild encampment and beaten to death." "Save?" Mingdu curled his lip. "By yourself? What? You still dare to look down on me when you're tied up like this?" To place one's pride was furious. Chapter 1092. *T. *T. To place one's pride cursed as he tried to move closer to the others. At this time, Wuji suddenly said, "Brat, stop fooling around. We are now on the airship. What you are doing is useless. If you really want to save us, you should at least find a place where we can escape." The airship was only so big. Even if immortal pride rescued everyone, it would be useless. In such a situation, only the guards could forcefully throw everyone off the airship. Players couldn't leave the airship, and the guards wouldn't listen to Immortal Pride's commands. If Chuanjin wanted to use his flying advantage to escape, he had to at least find a relatively open terrain. Otherwise, even if he could untie the ropes, he would be captured again. Then what should we do? We have to get Sister Nyo out? Otherwise, Uncle Nyo will beat me to death. To place one's pride said and glanced at Mu Zixian. He then wondered, why isn't Sister Nyo saying anything? Wuji thought for a moment and looked at to place one's pride with an expressionless face. She went offline to call for Old Cow. F***CK. Do you think Uncle Nyo will kill us when he comes online? To place one's pride heard this and his heart almost jumped out. Everyone said with tears streaming down their faces. I hope Old Cow comes online and kills us. But from the looks of it, Old Cow's wife must have forgotten about us. Fortunately. To place one's pride wiped his sweat. How can you say that? Everyone was angry. I am saying that you can leave such a small matter like saving you to me. To place one's pride quickly said. Everyone. Just as everyone expected, Mu Zixian had really forgotten what they had asked her to do. When everyone remembered that Li Shui and the others were living with Wang Yu, the girls had already gone offline. Obviously, the girls were more concerned about their image. Sleeping early and waking up early was a basic routine. A few minutes later, the airship began to descend. As the airship slowly descended, everyone could see the scenery of their destination. Damn, isn't this the Heavenly Dragon City? After seeing the surrounding scenery, everyone finally knew where they had been brought to. At the same time, they also understood the real reason why Glacial Jade and his group had come to capture them. Heavenly Dragon City only had two enemies. If they wanted to find trouble during the end of the world, they wouldn't have waited until now. They also didn't have that much money to spare. From this, it could be seen that the mastermind behind this group of people was none other than Feng Yuntian. Miao being rich was really awesome. He could even get 7 of such rare kung fu masters. Oh? It seems like you know this place? 13 turned his head and asked with a smile. Hee. Wuji smiled and said, who doesn't know the famous Heavenly Dragon City? That's right, you didn't come looking for us for no reason, right? Of course not. 13 said indifferently. Someone paid us to deal with Chuanjin. No wonder. Wuji pondered for a moment and said, tell me who that person is and I'll pay double for you to kill them. How about that? Sure. 13 said without hesitation, but I'm a trustworthy person. Since I've already promised someone, I have to finish it. Why don't I deal with you guys first, then kill Feng Yuntian? Haha. F***CK. That be *TCH. If it weren't for his ugly face, I think he would be able to enter Chuanjin. Seeing 13's despicable face, the Chuanjin people felt like they were on the same wavelength. Wuji snorted and said in the guild channel, as expected of Feng Yuntian. This won't be easy to deal with. Damn, this B** starred is really haunting us. Everyone clenched their fists. Thinking that their opponent was Feng Yuntian, even these fearless scoundrels couldn't help but feel despair. Of course, Wuji wasn't afraid of Feng Yuntian, but Feng Yuntian's identity as the Castellan of Sky Dragon City. Feng Yuntian had 7 martial arts experts under him, which was already very difficult to deal with. In addition, he had the authority to command the guards. Even if Wang Yu came, it wouldn't be easy for them to leave. After all, the guards were above the rules. Damn it, I, Chuanjin, have been a hero for a lifetime. Am I really going to fall in the hands of that second-generation brat? I can't accept this. Just as the people of Quanzhen were sighing and groaning, the airship finally arrived at the port. Icy Pure Jade walked to Mu Zixian's side and pulled her up, slung her over her shoulder, and said, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, first cover their eyes. As she spoke, icy pure jade took out a tattered piece of black cloth and covered Mu Zixuan's eyes with it. The others followed suit and covered the eyes of Wu Ji and the others. Although the purpose of these guys capturing Chuanjin was to lure Wang Yu to Celestial Dragon City, they still had the task of stripping Chuanjin naked. If Wang Yu came early, it would definitely be delayed. Things had to be done one by one. Since they were going to meet sooner or later, there was no need to rush. When Pure Ice and Jade blindfolded Wu Ji and the others, everyone started to panic. It seemed that to place one's pride was right. Heavenly Wind Cloud's group was looking for a guild encampment to slowly kill and loot their equipment. Currently, there were quite a few guilds with residences in Heavenly Dragon City. With whole of Wind Cloud's wealth and the identity of Heavenly Dragon City Lord, it was not difficult for them to buy a more secluded guild residence. After all, when a player's level was lower than the required level, the equipment would definitely drop. It seemed that Chuanjin was back to square one. What should we do? What should we do? Wu Ji and Spring Soar were relatively calm, but Mingdu was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Things were different now. In the past, everyone was playing a keystroke game. The only way to take revenge was to chase and kill. No matter how much Chuanjin wanted to die, the most they could do was kill them a few times. Moreover, with the wretched tempers of Chuanjin, they would log off immediately after dying once. They would not give their opponents a second chance to kill them. Who would have thought that they would end up like rice dumplings, thrown into the resurrection point, and be surrounded? This was something that had never happened before. To place one's pride could empathize with his comrades who were in danger. He could not be bothered to joke around anymore. He clenched his fist and shouted, "Damn it, why don't I fight them to the death? I'll save as many as I can. At most, we'll all die together. Good brother. We will never forget you. Go, but remember to burn Joss paper for us." Seeing that to place one's pride was so loyal, Mingdu was so touched that he started to spout nonsense. "Alright, stop talking nonsense." At that time, Wu Ji said calmly, "Young man, don't be rash. Who do you think you should save first?" To place one's pride heard this and immediately stopped talking. Chapter 1093. Save Mu Zixuan? Clearly, this was a matter of life and death. Compared to the 6 awakened main accounts, Mu Zixuan's level 15 account was negligible. Save Chuanjin's people? This was a matter of life and death. Even if it was one's own wife or mother, they would feel resentful if they weren't saved first, let alone a group of friends. Under these circumstances, either he saved all of them or he didn't save any of them. Otherwise, whoever he saved later would inevitably hurt their brotherhood. Then what should I do? To place one's pride asked helplessly. Follow behind them in case we can't even find a place when reinforcements come to save us. Wu Ji said. To place one's pride froze and asked, Uncle Nyo, will he come back? If he can't come, then we can only save ourselves. Immediately after, Wu Ji sighed and said, AI, looks like we owe Dugu Jiuqiang a favor this time. Dugu Jiuqiang? He will save us? Mingdu asked Wu Ji in astonishment. Meow, Dugu Jiuqiang and Chuanjin were old enemies. Now that Chuanjin was in such a state, Dugu Jiuqiang was secretly happy. Why would he help? It was already good enough that he didn't hit them when they were down. He will, Wu Ji said with certainty. Why? Everyone was puzzled as to why Wu Ji was so confident. Wu Ji coldly snorted and said, because he wants to be the city lord. Indeed, Dugu Jiuqiang had coveted the city lord of Sky Dragon City for a long time. Everyone knew that he wanted to be the city lord. Now that he asked Dugu Jiuqiang for help, there was indeed a suitable reason. Of course, as for whether or not Dugu Jiuqiang would help, that would depend on Wu Ji's eloquence. The greatest confidant in life was one's opponent. Wu Ji had a thorough understanding of Dugu Jiuqiang's schedule. It was not even midnight yet. For a gaming geek like Dugu Jiuqiang, it was the golden time, so he should be online. Wuji opened his friends list and found Dugu Jiuqiang. He sent a message, Songxin, are you there? Soon, Dugu Jiuqiang replied, ****, not here. Seeing Dugu Jiuqiang's message, Wuji smiled knowingly. This bastard, if he spoke nicely to ya, you would definitely think that Wuji had a favor to ask of him and ignore him. But if he scolded him, he would definitely not suffer a loss. Not here? Then, is the person talking to me a dog? Wuji asked provocatively again. Dugu Jiuqiang said angrily, ***ck off, are you looking for trouble? How dare you scold me in the middle of the night? If you have anything to say, just say it. Hey, Wuji said, little coward, do you have a business to do? ***ck, what business? Dugu Jiuqiang was the boss of the guild after all. He didn't ignore the main point when he scolded. It's just a small business. Seeing that Dugu Jiuqiang had taken the bait, Wuji said lightly, it's the Castellan of Sky Dragon City. TSK. Hearing Wuji's words, Dugu Jiuqiang immediately laughed. Sky Dragon City has a Castellan for a long time. Isn't it enough for Chuanjin to fool me once? Dugu Jiuqiang was also a person who bullied the weak and feared the strong. This bastard actually forcefully put the blame of Wang Yu on Chuanjin. However, now that Wuji had a favor to ask, he was too lazy to defend himself. Moreover, Wang Yu was Chuanjin's man. What Wang Yu did was what Chuanjin did. There was nothing wrong with this. Dugu Jiuqiang didn't take the bait, so Wuji tried to persuade him patiently. I say, follow your heart. Are you just going to watch that kid become the Castellan? You have tens of thousands of people under you, and he only has a dozen. How can a dozen people ride on the heads of tens of thousands of people? There is. Isn't Yu Huiqing an example? Dugu Jiuqiang retorted. That doesn't count. Our Chuanjin Castellan position was obtained through fighting. The whole of Windcloud came out of nowhere. Moreover, don't you know that we always strive for excellence in recruiting people? The whole of Windcloud is different. He just became a Castellan and only has a dozen people under him. He definitely doesn't feel safe. I think you should take advantage of the fact that he isn't strong enough and ***ck him up. Stop messing around. Dugu Jiuqiang sneered. You must be scheming against the whole of Windcloud again. You want us to be cannon fodder? The whole of Windcloud didn't provoke me, so why should I provoke them? Once bitten, twice shy. Dugu Jiuqiang had fought with Chuanjin for so many years and suffered countless losses. He still had this bit of wisdom. What are you saying? Wuji said. I'm doing this for your own good. Do you think you can live and work in peace and contentment just by being honest? Do you believe that when the whole of Windcloud becomes strong, the first thing they'll deal with will be the apocalypse? This. Hearing Wuji's words, Dugu Jiuqiang furrowed his brows. Even though Wuji had a belly full of evil tricks, his words were sharp and accurate. Since ancient times, when a new emperor ascended to the throne, he would have to go to the house of his competitor and kill his entourage, to move unhindered, and the apocalypse were the only two competitors in Heavenly Dragon City other than the whole of Windcloud's world alliance. I just realized that these three guilds all had the word world in their names. These gaming geeks are really uncultured. Even their names are so vulgar. To move unhindered was needless to say. That group of fellows lived in harmony. They wouldn't offend others if they didn't offend them. If they were offended, they would annihilate the entire clan. To move unhindered, no matter how courageous the whole of Windcloud was, they wouldn't dare to provoke such a colossus. Other than that, the only guild that could make the whole of Windcloud afraid was the Apocalypse. The Apocalypse had tens of thousands of players and was definitely a force to be reckoned with. If the whole of Windcloud were to develop, they would definitely not let the Apocalypse wander around in front of them. When that time came, with the City Lord of Windcloud around, the Apocalypse wouldn't be a match for the World Alliance, no matter how powerful the Apocalypse was. After hesitating for a moment, Dugu Jiuqiang became more and more frightened. He quickly lowered his attitude and asked sincerely, "Then what should we do now?" "In for a penny, in for a pound. Let's get rid of the whole of Windcloud. Isn't it better to be the city lord himself?" Wu Ji said resolutely. "What you said makes sense, but we have no reason to provoke a conflict for no reason. You have to know that he's the city lord now," Dugu Jiuqiang said in a dilemma. Provoking the city lord without reason was a huge crime. It was possible that he wouldn't be able to survive in Heavenly Dragon City during the apocalypse. Wu Ji said, "Why not? Just this morning, the whole of Windcloud brought people to destroy your shop, killed your people, and ate without paying for your food. How can you tolerate that?" Actually, Dugu Jiuqiang had the intention to overthrow the whole of Windcloud since a long time ago, but he couldn't find a reason to do so. Now that Wu Ji pointed it out, he immediately reacted and slapped his thigh. "I can't tolerate that." "That's right," Wu Ji said with relief. "Now that the whole of Windcloud is hunting outside the city and doesn't have any guards under him, it's a good opportunity for you to rebel. You must grasp it. Okay, tell me the coordinates, I'll go over now," Dugu Jiuqiang shouted. "About that, I'll tell you later," Wu Ji said. Chapter 1094. Currently, Crystal Cold Jade and the others were still on their way and had yet to reach their destination. Wu Ji and the others were blindfolded and could not see their surroundings at all. Therefore, they had to wait for Crystal Cold Jade and the others to reach their destination. To place one's pride, who was following behind them, would then know where the whole of Windcloud's base camp was. To be on the safe side, the whole of Windcloud had chosen a rather remote location. After walking for about 10 minutes, they finally saw an inconspicuous guild encampment. Both sides of the encampment were filled with shrubs and weeds. The main color of the encampment was lush green, filled with an aura of forgiveness. If one did not look carefully, they would not be able to see that there was a building here. At the entrance of the encampment stood 4 to 5 players. It was not difficult to recognize that they were the group of mercenaries hired by the whole of Windcloud from the Freedom Cities. Although these mercenaries were not first-rate experts, they were not weak either. Now that they were here to guard the entrance for the whole of Windcloud, it was obvious that the whole of Windcloud had too much money. Only the 12 constellations and the whole of Windcloud had seen Crystal Cold Jade and the others before. The others did not even know who they were. Seeing Crystal Cold Jade and the others walking towards the guild encampment from afar, the mercenaries at the entrance immediately became alert. Crystal Cold Jade's group of 7 was very unconventional. Now that they were each carrying a player, it was indeed very strange. It was reasonable for the mercenaries to be wary. Moreover, if they were on the same side, they could have just stepped on the teleportation circle. Those who entered through the entrance were definitely outsiders. Seeing that the group was getting closer, the mercenaries took out their weapons and formed a formation to block the entrance. One of the warriors pointed at Crystal Cold Jade and shouted, "What are you doing? This is a private encampment, get lost." However, before the warrior could finish his sentence, he suddenly felt his vision go black. In the next moment, Crystal Cold Jade appeared in front of the warrior. The warrior was shocked and quickly tried to retreat. Who knew that Crystal Cold Jade already knew what he was thinking and stepped on the warrior's foot. She smiled and raised her hand. "Pa pa 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 pa." Before the soldier could react to what had happened, he received a few loud slaps on his face. Not only the mercenaries, even the grandmasters of combat behind Crystal Jade were dumbfounded. Large beads of sweat started to form on their faces. Damn it, women who had entered menopause early were so unreasonable. This mercenary classmate was really unlucky. Why did he have to provoke this crazy girl? F***CK. Do you want to die? The warrior was slapped a few times for no reason, and was instantly enraged. With a shout, the mercenaries at the door raised their weapons and were about to attack Ice Pure Jade. Since their boss was being attacked, Nian Luyun and the others naturally wouldn't just sit back and watch. They rushed forward and quickly pinned the 4 mercenaries to the ground. She stepped on the warrior and said with an unfriendly expression, "This windy world is too rude. I've spent so much effort to capture him, but this brat actually dared to stop me. Get him out here right now." Hearing Crystal Cold Jade's words, the warrior immediately felt disgusted. These were his own people, so he quickly sent a message to Windy World. Very soon, the whole of Windcloud walked out of the encampment with his men. Seeing the Chuanjian members on the backs of Clear Ice and the others, the whole of Windcloud was startled. He quickly walked over and bowed apologetically. "Sister Ice, I'm sorry. I forgot to instruct them." "Humph." Crystal Cold Jade coldly snorted and ignored Windy World. She swaggered into the guild encampment. The mercenaries at the door were all dumbfounded, especially the warrior who was slapped by Crystal Cold Jade. He was extremely depressed. Seeing Windy World acting like a lackey, the slap must have been for nothing. However, the commotion caused by Crystal Cold Jade's group at the door gave Wuji the signal that they had reached their destination. Wuji asked to place one's pride in the channel. "Chick, where are we now?" At receiving Wuji's message, to place one's pride was stunned. "I don't know, F***ck. Hearing to place one's pride's words, he immediately became angry. "What do I need you for? Blessings never come in pairs, and misfortunes never come alone." At such a crucial moment, none of them could be relied on. To place one's pride was told to follow behind and remember the route, but this brat was nowhere to be found. Wuji's heart was about to break. I. To place one's pride felt wronged. "I still remember the route at the beginning, but once we entered the Lost Forest, I got lost." Only then did Wuji remember that to place one's pride was the same as Wang Yu. They did not know the way, especially when they entered the forest. Furthermore, there were no coordinates on the map, so they immediately lost their sense of direction. To place one's pride was lucky that they did not get lost in an unfamiliar environment like Sky Dragon City. F***ck chick, you are useless. What should we do now? Mingdu asked anxiously. "I don't know either." Wuji sent a shrug emoji, indicating that he was also very desperate. "Humph." At this moment Chun Xiang sneered, "You bunch of useless people! Don't you still need to rely on me at the crucial moment?" "Why, Brother Chun, you know." Everyone was surprised when they heard this. "Of course," Chun Xiang said lightly. "I have been remembering the steps of this group of people since just now." "Remembering steps? What's the use of that?" To place one's pride asked in confusion. Chun Xiang was silent for a moment, then sent out a bunch of calculation formulas on the public chat. "What the F***ck are these?" The 2 morons, Mingdu and To Place One's Pride, were both confused. Chun Xiang explained, "From the scene of our battle with these people, we can see that these people's movement speed is roughly x meters per second. We left the port, moved left for 11 minutes and 24 seconds, then turned right for 9 minutes and 36 seconds. From this we can continue to calculate, speak human language. Get to the point." Hearing this, everyone basically understood what Chun Xiang meant, so they hurriedly stopped this guy's long-winded speech. Chun Xiang was stunned for a moment before he said, "Our current position is 3,264 meters to the left after leaving the port, 2748. 63 meters to the right, rounded up to 2,749 meters, understand?" What the F***ck? Seeing Chun Xiang's result, everyone from Chuanjian was stunned. They asked doubtfully, "Is that true?" What the F***ck? He could accurately calculate his position after being blindfolded for so long. Why did it sound so F***king terrifying? Even though everyone from Chuanjian knew Chun Xiang's ability, it was inevitable for them to have some doubts. In the face of everyone's doubts, Chun Xiang did not explain, but said lightly, "Do you guys want to believe me or chick?" Everyone was speechless for a moment. Without saying anything, Wuji copied Chun Xiang's result and sent it to Dugu Jiuqiang. What a joke, a man without hair could not do a good job. He was talking about women and children. How could Wuji still dare to believe to place one's pride? Chapter 1095. National Day and Mid-Autumn Festival. We need to organize activities and performances. Everyone knows that. Life is always busy. I take time to update with my phone. Chapter 1096. Hang in there. Receiving Dugu Jiuqiang's message, Wuji and the rest were in despair. Damn it, it would take at least 20 minutes for the end of the world to arrive from Sky Dragon City to save them. After death, players would only have 30 seconds to release their souls. In other words, this period of time was enough for World of Windcloud and the rest to kill Chuanjin 40 times. Based on 10% EXP per kill, 40 times would be equivalent to 4 levels. It would take at least half a month of hard work to level up from 46 to 50. Losing all the EXP in 20 minutes was a little hard to accept. Be content, Mingdu said optimistically. It's better than grinding to level 10. Wuji asked back, do you think it's as simple as losing EXP? Everyone was stunned when they thought about it. They could level up again, but how much luck would they need to die 40 times without losing any equipment? Everyone was burdened with PK points in Sky Dragon City. If they died 40 times, they would probably drop their underwear. More importantly, they would probably have to reset the awakening mission that they had painstakingly completed. Damn it. If that's the case, there's no difference between losing 4 levels and dying. Everyone sighed. Let me hold them back. To place one's pride suddenly said. To place one's pride felt guilty for not being of any use just now, so he volunteered. You? How are you going to hold them back? Everyone questioned when they saw to place one's pride's message. I don't know, but I'll try my best. To place one's pride rubbed his nose and closed the chat window. To place one's pride knew that although the people from Chuanjin liked to undermine each other, they were still very loyal. To place one's pride to die in such a dangerous situation, no one would agree. However, a game like this was destined to not go far if one played alone. The rest of the Chuanjin team was no longer around. To place one's pride, what was the point of playing by himself? It might seem silly to act on impulse in the game, but sometimes, only the people involved would know why they did what they did. To place one's pride, he stood up and headed to World of Windcloud's encampment. The mercenaries at the door had just been slapped by Bingqin Yujie, and when they saw to place one's pride walking towards them, they couldn't help but be surprised. They quickly spread out their formation and asked, You? Who are you? F***CK. To place one's pride originally wanted to barge in, but when he heard the mercenaries' question, he couldn't help but be stunned. Then, an idea came to him and he said, F***CK. You don't even know me? Who am I? To place one's pride was quite smart. He knew that the people under World of Windcloud were newly hired and didn't know each other. If he said that, he would most likely be able to sneak in. As expected, after hearing to place one's pride's words, the 4 mercenaries at the entrance immediately whispered to each other. Who? The mercenaries looked at each other and asked each other, Who, do you know him? I don't know him. But judging from his attire, he seems to be a Grandmaster of Combat. Grandmaster of Combat? Could he be in cahoots with those guys who just passed by? The leader of the warriors heard this and his expression immediately changed. With the previous example, the mercenaries naturally wouldn't be impolite to people they didn't know, especially the Grandmaster of Combat. If they were in cahoots with that girl, wouldn't they be slapped again? Therefore, the mercenaries quickly said in a pleasant tone, So it's you. You're back so soon. I almost didn't recognize you. Please come in, come in. Ugh, to place one's pride was speechless for a moment, then he carefully walked into the guild encampment. This guild encampment of World of Windcloud looked ordinary, but it was very spacious inside. The entire encampment was scattered with mercenaries. It was obvious that these mercenaries didn't know each other. None of them recognized To Place One's Pride. There were even some who took the initiative to greet To Place One's Pride. To Place One's Pride almost thought that he was a lackey of World of Windcloud. After asking around, To Place One's Pride finally found Xuanzhen's group, who were tied up at the resurrection point at the entrance of the meeting hall. At this moment, countless mercenaries surrounded the group at the resurrection point. Each of them raised their weapons and were about to attack Wuji's group. Seeing this scene, To Place One's Pride instantly turned pale. He couldn't care less and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Stop!" Everyone was stunned when they heard Jiao's sudden shout. They quickly turned around and saw a Grandmaster of Combat standing not too far away with a sword in his hand. Tai Chi badge Xuanzhen's, Grandmaster of Combat class. Could it be? The mercenaries under World of Windcloud, including the 12 stars, were traumatized by Wang Yu. Wang Yu's ferocious image of killing a group of mercenaries with a wave of his hand, as well as the scene of him fighting 1,000 people alone, were still vivid in their minds. Seeing To Place One's Pride's attire, everyone's heart skipped a beat and revealed a panicked expression. To Place One's Pride saw the expressions of the players opposite him and knew that they had mistaken him for Wang Yu. Therefore, he took out a long sword and gestured while shouting in a hoarse voice, "Those who attack will die." F***CK. Hearing the familiar words, everyone instantly panicked and took a step back. "A bunch of trash. Get out of the way." Right at this moment, a clear and melodious voice rang out. Ice-clear Jade was dragging her 3-meter-long spear, leaping over everyone's heads, flying into the sky above Pride. Following which, Pure Ice swung her spear and swung it at To Place One's Pride's face, sending To Place One's Pride flying. To Place One's Pride was a level 50 awakened player. Moreover, he was also wearing a full set of exquisite equipment. Naturally, he would not be killed so easily. "Ayayaya!" This pitiful guy screamed in pain as he tumbled a few times and was sent flying to the side by Pure Ice. At the same time, Nian Luyun and the others followed closely behind and surrounded To Place One's Pride. "It's over. I'm going all out." Seeing so many experts surrounding him, To Place One's Pride was shocked. "In for a penny, in for a pound, in for a pound." He lifted his leg and kicked forward. Shadow chain kick. "It's him. It's not him." Nian Luyun and the others had seen To Place One's Pride's shadow chain kick before. When they saw To Place One's Pride's kick flying out, they immediately reacted and dodged. At this moment, To Place One's Pride's figure turned and split into 3, kicking from 3 different directions. Triple Thunderbolt Kick. Lucid Cloud, 13, and Glacial Jade were clearly faster to react than the others, and they were able to dodge Pride's flying kick. Dao Break, Dao Ming, and the others, however, were not as lucky. Pride's kick landed squarely on their bodies. Triple Thunderbolt Kick was an awakened level skill. Its attack power did not need to be explained. To Place One's Pride's kick landed squarely on them. The 4 did not even have time to scream before they were kicked into the revival point. Seeing To Place One's Pride instantly kill 4 experts, everyone panicked again. Chapter 1097. To Place One's Pride may be an expert, but compared to these kung fu kids, To Place One's Pride's advantages were all in level and stats. Facing so many people head-on was undoubtedly a suicidal action. To Place One's Pride's final killing moves, especially the flickering shadow chain kick and the thunderbolt triple kick. Using them now was no different from playing landlord with 4 2s and 2 kings. In a situation like this, even if he fought head-on, he still had to think carefully. This kind of mindless charge was clearly lacking in consideration. A kid was a kid. Sigh, this brat, he didn't listen to us. Now we're all going to die. Everyone sighed and couldn't help but shake their heads. To Place One's Pride's actions were a bit brainless, but under these circumstances, this kid was still able to come back and fight. Are you guys ignoring me? However, just when everyone thought that to place one's pride was going to die as well, a message suddenly popped up in the guild channel. Everyone took a look and saw that it was actually from North Cu. North Cu was an assassin with the second stage of invisibility and Earth escape. Disregarding her killing skills, her survival skills were unparalleled. It could be said that as long as she was on the ground, basically no one could catch her. Therefore, in the first exchange with Crystal Clear Jade and the others, North Cu knew that she was no match for them and escaped through the ground. Moreover, this guy was naturally invisible. If he hadn't voluntarily appeared, no one would have realized that this kid was still alive. Old you? Where are you? Seeing North Cu's message, everyone was shocked and hurriedly asked. North Cu calmly replied, Brother Chun, don't move. I'm right under your butt. F***ck. Chun Xiang shivered. This old man's fart has been scared away. What are you doing under my butt? North Cu's face darkened. If you dare to fart, I'll stab your sphincter. Hurry up and put your hands behind you. Chun Xiang was speechless. He leaned back and placed his hands on the ground. Bada! At that moment, a dagger stuck out from the ground and chopped the rope binding Chun Xiang. There was a light noise. Chun Xiang felt his hands and feet loosened. The rope was untied. To place one's pride's mechanics may not be as good as Glacial Jade's group, but his level was still there. A Grandmaster of Combat was an agile class. Furthermore, Glacial Jade's group was quite wary of to place one's pride's flash shadow chain kick and triple thunderbolt kick. Therefore, they did not dare to push him too far, allowing him to jump up and down. They could not do anything to him for the time being. To place one's pride, the whole of Windcloud and his men's attention was drawn to them. They did not notice the strange behavior of Chuanjin and the others at the resurrection point. It didn't take long for Baiming Yu to cut the ropes binding the Chuanjin troop. After gaining freedom, Wuji hurriedly shouted in the channel, Mingdu, go save Chick, wait? Mingdu said pitifully. Why? Wuji's expression froze as he asked. My legs are numb. Everyone was speechless. As they were afraid that Mingdu would use hand gestures to cast spells, poor Mingdu was tied up in a professional way. It was reasonable that his legs were numb. However, the sensory simulation in the game was not strong. After a few seconds, Mingdu recovered and casually snapped his fingers. All right, let's start. Yes. Wuji nodded and waved his staff to give orders to everyone. Brother Chun, cover everyone first. Old Yu Daoshue, clear the ranged classes. Mingdu, go save Chick. Dark Barrier, rise. Following Wuji's order, Chun Xiang smashed his staff on the ground and a circle of dark barrier surrounded the resurrection point. Chun Xiang raised the book of sealing with his left hand and rays of light flew out from the book. 6 demons protected Chuanjin troops in the middle. At the same time, Mingdu raised his staff and instantly, lightning fell from the sky and the ground was set on fire. In an instant, the whole of Windcloud's troops were drowned. The encirclement that the whole of Windcloud thought was impregnable did not even last for a second before an opening was blasted open. Not good. Why are they standing up again? Icy Jade was shocked when she saw Chuanjin's troops suddenly attacking. She pointed at to place one's pride and said, Quickly take care of this brat, I'll go and help. However, before Icy Jade could finish her sentence, the body of to place one's pride that was jumping up and down suddenly emitted a ball of light. Following that, his body shook and turned into a wretched-looking Mingdu. Hee. Mingdu smiled slyly and waved at Icy Jade. Hello, beautiful. Icy Jade was dumbfounded when she saw Mingdu's ugly face. She went crazy and said, What's going on? How did he turn into this bastard? Kill him for me. After receiving Icy Jade's order, Nian Luyun and the rest surrounded him without hesitation. Bye-bye. Let's meet again next time. Mingdu cackled and disappeared into thin air, leaving only a blue lightning ball in the air. At this time, Nian Luyun and the rest also arrived near the lightning ball. F***ck. Seeing the lightning ball in front of them, everyone's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. It was too late to dodge. Boom! With a loud explosion, a circle of people was blasted away. Since it was a low-level skill, Nian Luyun and the rest were only left with low health. After drinking a potion, they recovered. At this time, Mingdu, and to place one's pride, had already returned to Chuanjin's formation. The people of the whole of Windcloud did not expect Chuanjin to still be able to bite back at them. Chuanjin's sudden attack caught them off guard. The mercenaries under the whole of Windcloud were unfamiliar with each other, and their teamwork was rather rusty. Once the formation was disrupted, they only cared about fighting their own battles and quickly became a mess. Mingjian Daoxue and Baiming Yoyu were like phantoms, harvesting the fragile ranged classes. Seeing this, the mercenaries all moved closer to Chuanjin's position. Whoosh! A circle of green light spread out from Soaring Spring's body. Wherever the toxic nova went, everyone turned green. Mingdu clasped his hands together and made a strange gesture. In an instant, the sky changed color and a dark cloud covered the sky above the revival point. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Thick bolts of lightning struck down, turning the mercenaries into ashes. This was the fundamental difference between an awakened and a non-awakened player. All of Chuanjin's members were awakened ones. Their attributes and skills far surpassed that of a normal person. Under the effects of Soaring Spring's poison, the surrounding mercenaries were all powerless. Their health dropped and their feet slowed down. Before they could even reach Chuanjin, they died on the spot. Chapter 1098. Just like that, they died again and again. The mercenaries who died first were already powerless to resist, while the Quan Zhen sect became more and more courageous as they fought. The Quan Zhen sect, which was originally on the brink of death in the eyes of Feng Yuntian, actually showed signs of a counterattack under Wuji's command. Of course, counterattacking was just a facade. Chuanjin's members were well aware of how dangerous their current situation was. When the number of mercenaries increased, there would be a qualitative change. The reason why Chuanjin seemed to have the upper hand was because they caught their opponents off guard, as well as their lack of discipline and coordination. With less than 10 people, they wanted to withstand the attacks of so many people, including a group of super experts like Pure Ice and Jade Heroine. The chances of this happening were very slim. Even if they were awakened experts, casting spells would still consume their energy. Moreover, Windcloud World's mercenaries were not brainless NPCs. How could they remain the same? These mercenaries were trained in PvP, so their adaptability were quite strong. Once they worked together and formed a formation, Chuanjin's current advantage would disappear. Therefore, everyone had to try their best to gain the upper hand during this period of time and persevere until Dugu Jiuqiang's reinforcements arrived. Damn it! Windcloud World's heart sank when he saw that more and more of his subordinates were dying, but they still couldn't stand up. He hurriedly shouted, "Stop charging around, come back, come back!" Originally, these mercenaries had been scattered by the Chuanjin sect. Now that they heard their boss's order to retreat, they hurriedly retreated as if they had been pardoned from joining the group. In a short while, these mercenaries had distanced themselves from Chuanjin and escaped from Chuanjin's long-range attack range. It couldn't be helped. Chuanjin's current formation was definitely a nightmare for melee players. Not to mention the warriors and knights, even the mages couldn't help. This was because they knew that once they stepped into Chuanjin's attack range, even if they didn't die, they would be skinned alive. This kind of formation was like a hedgehog. Even Pure Ice and her group of ruthless people had to stay away from it and watch from afar. It made sense, grandmasters of combat were famous for their short arms. With the people of Chuanjin hiding in the dark enchantment of Spring Soar, the melee classes couldn't even touch Mo Do. No matter how strong Pure Ice and the others were, they wouldn't be so strong that they could overturn the system's class settings. Naturally, they wouldn't dare to go over and mess with them. Of course, there was no such thing as a perfect strategy in this world. Windcloud Heavens also had capable subordinates under him. Rat immediately saw through Chuanjin's current predicament. After everyone got into formation, Rat, who was beside Windcloud Heavens, shouted, "Archers! Prepare to fire!" The archers among the mercenaries received the order. They nocked their arrows and aimed at the people of Chuanjin at the resurrection point. Seeing that Windy World had already organized his subordinates to retreat and ordered the archers to get into formation, Wuji furrowed his brows and ordered, "There's an expert on the other side. Everyone, defend." That's right. Just as Rat had predicted, Chuanjin was now a live target. Rat could tell at a glance that the resurrection point was the only advantage the Quanzhen sect had at the moment. Once the resurrection point was breached by the people of the world of Windcloud, or the people of the Quanzhen sect left the resurrection point, they would definitely return to a passive state. After all, the resurrection point was equivalent to a supply station. As long as the formation wasn't broken and there were companions to take care of each other, they could immediately join the battle after resurrection. They wouldn't be like the mercenaries of Windcloud Heavens who were killed the moment they appeared. Therefore, as long as the resurrection point was still there, the people of Chuanjin didn't have to worry about being defeated one by one. Even if they died a few times, they would at most lose some experience. Of course, the people of Chuanjin understood this logic. After receiving Wuji's order, everyone quickly gathered into formation and hid behind the demons of Spring Soar. At that time, the mercenary archers also started shooting at Chuanjin. Countless arrows rained down on the people of Chuanjin like rain. After Spring Soar awakened, the attributes of the demons under him also increased by several times. With Wuji and Spring Soar taking turns to buff the demons, the 6 demons withstood the bombardment of the people of Windcloud Heavens for a few rounds before falling to the ground. Without the protection of the demons, the people of Chuanjin were immediately exposed to the mercenaries' vision. "Damn it! I'm going to die." Spring Soar gritted his teeth and shook the Book of Seals in his left hand. A ball of light flew out from the pages of the book and turned into a giant python that blocked the people of Chuanjin. Rat saw this scene clearly from behind and immediately ordered, "Concentrate your firepower and attack that warlock in the green hat." The mercenaries obeyed and turned their bows and arrows to aim at Spring Soar. Countless arrows flew over. If Spring Soar was attacked by himself, he would have immediately turned into mist and escaped. However, Spring Soar was the most important part of Chuanjin's formation, so he naturally couldn't dodge. Clang! Seeing that Spring Soar was about to be shot to death, Yinlao Air quickly rushed in front of Spring Soar and used the giant sky god's shield to protect Spring Soar. Clang 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 clang. After a series of sounds that sounded like heavy rain, the arrows of the mercenaries were all blocked by Yinlao Air. At that moment, Wuji also summoned the illusionary snake. The illusionary snake circled around everyone and covered the people of Chuanjin with a pink mist. The archers once again lost their target. Seeing how fierce Chuanjin was, Windcloud Heavens couldn't help but curse. "Damn it, what a bunch of troublesome fellows! Forget it, release the arrows, don't stop. Let's see how long they can last." Sometimes the stupidest method was the most effective method. This move by Windcloud Heavens had directly poked at Chuanjin's weak spot. Aimlessly shooting arrows was equivalent to playing a war of attrition. A war of attrition was naturally more effective with more people. With so many players from Windcloud Heavens, it was only a matter of time before they killed Chuanjin. Although Chuanjin's target was covered by the pink mist, the resurrection point was just a small place. The mercenaries didn't even need to aim and only needed to shoot into the mist. No matter how inaccurate they were, there would always be 1 or 2 arrows that hit the target out of 10. Under the attrition of Windcloud Heavens and his men, The potions in Chuanjin's bag were getting lesser and lesser. It was getting harder and harder for them to resist. Damn it, is Dugut Songshin afraid to come? They were about to run out of food and ammunition, but the reinforcements had yet to arrive. Everyone was getting more and more anxious. Wuji said gloomily, "Who knows? I'm not surprised that dog Quinn stood us up." Wuji, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're really unreliable today. How many times has it been? Even at this time, everyone still didn't forget to mock each other. Heh, who said it wasn't? Wuji laughed bitterly and couldn't help but shake his head. First, he was tricked, then he met with unreliable teammates 3 times in a row. Looking at the first half of Wuji's life, he had never encountered such a miserable situation. However, at this time, Wuji's notification bar flashed and a message popped up. Seeing the message, Wuji's eyes lit up and he was overjoyed. He said to everyone, "It's past midnight, we've reached the bottom." Chapter 1099. What's going on? Seeing Wuji's expression, everyone turned to look at him. They thought to themselves, this kid's life has been smooth sailing all his life. Did he go mad after receiving so many blows today? Humph. Wuji laughed. Look at the guild channel. While everyone was dodging the arrows in the sky, they opened the guild channel and saw a message flashing on the public screen. All of you trash, are you all dead yet? I'll be at Wuji soon. They looked at the sender, Iron Ox. F***CK. Old Cow is here. After seeing this message, everyone hurriedly took a look at the member list at the side. As expected, Wang Yu's status was currently online. Damn. He's finally here. Seeing Wang Yu online, everyone was so excited that tears flowed down their cheek. As the leader of Chuanjin, Wang Yu had saved his teammates from danger many times. Over time, he had become the backbone of the team. What was a backbone? A backbone was Wang Yu. No matter how difficult the situation was, everyone would have a feeling of, this is the end. I'm going to have a smoke. Originally, everyone's survival was uncertain, and they had pinned their hopes on Dugu Jiuqiang's group. Their morale was at an all-time low. Now that Wang Yu was online, everyone was energized and shouted in the guild channel, "Hurry up, we can't hold on any longer. Why are you so late?" Wang Yu replied, "Don't be noisy. I used a scroll to fly over. Now I'm outside with the people from the apocalypse. I've already taken off my clothes and gotten into bed. My wife just remembered something. You guys are really worrisome." While Wang Yu was grumbling, the whole of Windcloud and the others suddenly received a message. The apocalypse has launched an attack on the guild base of Heaven Alliance. After receiving the message, the whole of Windcloud was shocked and asked Rat, "Damn, why are the people from the apocalypse here? What do we do now?" Mouse thought for a moment, then ordered everyone, "Mages, follow us to guard the door. Everyone else, continue to attack. Chuanjin's men won't be able to hold on for much longer." After saying that, the group of people from the 12 constellations took the lead and rushed to the entrance of the encampment. "Do as he says." The whole of Windcloud added, and the mage mercenaries followed closely behind. By the time 12 astrological signs and the others arrived at the entrance, the players of the apocalypse had already begun their assault on the guild encampment. Seeing this, Rat quickly gathered his mercenaries and began to defend and counterattack. At this moment, Dugu Jiuqiang had been dragged onto Wuji's pirate ship. Originally, Dugu Jiuqiang had thought that there were only a dozen or so people in the whole of Windcloud. However, after exchanging blows, he immediately understood what it meant to be a tough bone to chew. The terrain of the World Alliance's guild encampment was very special. It was located deep within the forest. Not only was it well hidden, but it was also a terrain that was easy to defend and hard to attack. In addition, Heavenly Windcloud was not lacking in money. Compared to Chuanjin's entrance, which did not even have a guard dog, the World Alliance's encampment could be said to be armed to the teeth. There were guards of various classes and defensive equipment, fully displaying Heavenly Windcloud's nature as a tycoon. It was true that Heavenly Dragon City had a large number of players, but a large number of players was not enough to attack a fortified encampment. Although there were only mages guarding the entrance, they were still able to block the players of the apocalypse outside. Unfortunately, they did not have the strength to deal with such a fortified encampment without any siege equipment. Chuanzhen's group was still being beaten up like dogs. Naturally, Wang Yu would not wait for the players of the apocalypse to attack the encampment. Wang Yu leaped into the air and spread his wings, flying directly into the sky. "Release the arrows! Release the arrows! I'll give 100 gold coins to whoever kills one of them." While the battle was going on outside, Heavenly Windcloud was happily commanding the mercenaries to shoot arrows within the encampment. At that time, there was a loud noise, and a figure covered in lightning landed in the midst of the mercenaries. Boom! The lightning spread out, and a large number of mercenaries died. The sudden loud noise gave Heavenly Windcloud a fright. He quickly turned his head to look, and at the same time, he heard the people of Chuanzhen shouting in unison, "Old cow! We're over here!" It's you?" When he saw the person's identity, Heavenly Windcloud was shocked and angry, and retreated a few steps in fear. To place one's pride, with the identity of a Grandmaster of Combat, imitated Wang Yu's words, and was able to frighten the mercenaries into retreating. From this, it could be seen that Wang Yu's face was like a nightmare to the mercenaries present. At this moment, the real Wang Yu appeared, and with a stomp, he killed a group of them. The mercenaries were instantly frightened, and their morale plummeted. They all retreated, afraid that they would be killed in one move if they were not careful. Hearing Chuanzhen's voice, Wang Yu followed the sound and jumped in front of Chuanzhen. Seeing that Chuanzhen and the others were safe and sound, Wang Yu nodded his head in relief. He then looked around, and his gaze landed on Heavenly Windcloud. He said calmly, "Let them go, and we'll treat this as if it never happened. Otherwise, you'll regret it." Heavenly Windcloud was not a coward. Facing a bug-level expert like Wang Yu, the fear in his heart was not any less than the others. Now that Wang Yu was staring at Heavenly Windcloud, under Wang Yu's gaze, Heavenly Windcloud felt immense pressure, and instinctively wanted to admit defeat. However, before Heavenly Windcloud could say anything, a similarly tall and burly Grandmaster of Combat jumped in front of Wang Yu, blocking Heavenly Windcloud's path. Quan Zhen and the others looked up. This person was 13, the subordinate of Pure Ice and Jade. He. 13 smiled, squinted his eyes and asked Wang Yu, "You must be little Wang. Who's this grandson?" Seeing that someone dared to speak to him in such a manner, Wang Yu frowned and asked. It seemed that Wang Yu was not in a good mood when he was dragged out of bed. He rarely used vulgarities, but now, he frequently used vulgarities. Quan Zhen and the others hurriedly reminded him, "Hey, old cow, you have to be civilized." Wang Yu scratched his head and politely asked again, "May I know who this grandson is?" 13 could not be bothered to argue with Wang Yu, so he raised his chin and said, "I'm G13. I've heard of you long ago, so I'm here to meet you. Are you going to give me face or not?" Wang Yu understood and said, "You must be little G, I've heard of you too. Are you for real? You know this guy?" Quan Zhen and the others asked suspiciously. "Of course," Wang Yu said. When this kid was 12, he used his martial arts to flirt with innocent women and was caught red-handed by Elder Tong. He was stripped naked and hung on the city gate for a day and night. It was the firemen who took him down. How could I not have heard of such a famous person? F***ck? So terrifying, what happened to him in the end? Everyone was rather interested in G13's bizarre experience. Chapter 1100. Ha ha! Ji Shan did not fly into a rage when he heard Wang Yu expose his misdeeds when he was young. Instead, he laughed and said, I didn't expect a legendary genius like you to know about a nobody like me. I'm really honored. That's right, I admit what you said. It's natural for men to be lecherous. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Oh. Everyone from Chuanjin nodded. Although this grandson is a scoundrel, what he said is not without reason. Ji San then said, but I want to see if you're worthy of your reputation as a genius. With that, Ji San took a step forward and came in front of Wang Yu. He extended his left leg and threw a punch with his right fist. Ha ha! Inviting you into a trap? You used it well. Seeing Ji San's move, Wang Yu smiled and did not dodge. He stepped forward with his right foot and blocked Ji San's left leg. Both his hands reached up and down. His left hand grabbed Ji San's wrist and his right hand grabbed Ji San's belt. He lifted Ji San up. Ji San, who was lifted up, clasped his other hand together and reached out to stab Wang Yu's eyes. Wang Yu suddenly swung both of his hands, and before Ji San's fingers could reach Wang Yu's face, he was thrown away. Ji San did 2 backflips in midair to reduce the force before he stabilized himself and did not squat on the ground. After landing, Ji San's face alternated between red and white, as if he had been greatly humiliated. Oh, he's still angry. Seeing Ji San's indignant face, everyone from Chuanjin could not help but start pointing at him. Opponents being thrown out by Wang Yu was a very common thing in Chuanjin's eyes. Therefore, this group of laymen only felt that Wang Yu had done something insignificant. Ji San was already very lucky to survive after being thrown out by Wang Yu. They did not expect this kid to still be unsatisfied. He had probably died before. Of course, as the saying goes, the layman enjoys the show, while the expert appreciates the artistry. Compared to the composure of the Chuanjin people, Nian Luyun and the others behind Ji San could not help but gasp when they saw this scene. Everyone here was an expert, so they naturally had a different view from these ordinary people. No matter how notorious Ji San was, he was still an expert who had made a name for himself at a young age. To this day, the profoundness of his fist technique was above that of the Li siblings, who had the highest cultivation in fist technique among them. This punch seemed ordinary, but the angle was quite tricky. It inadvertently sealed the space on Wang Yu's left to dodge, and at the same time, the front left leg had already tripped Wang Yu on the other side. Just as the name suggested, the main point was to force the opponent to fall into the trap. The next kick was the foundation. Who would have thought that Wang Yu wouldn't fall for it at all? With a casual wave of his hand, he dissolved the urn along with the person. It was simple and crude, without the slightest technique to speak of. Everyone was a martial artist, so they naturally knew that when one's fist technique was cultivated to an extremely high realm, it would return to simplicity and return to simplicity. This was the principle of lifting something heavy as if it were light, and great skill did not require hard work. Ji San's killing move was dissolved by the simplest and crudest move, which showed the gap in their cultivation. It was like watching someone easily solve an extremely difficult mathematical problem using only addition and subtraction. Seeing Wang Yu's method, everyone couldn't help but feel their scalps tingle. Originally, not only pure ice and jade, everyone including Ji San thought that no matter how strong Wang Yu was, he was only a young man who was about the same age as them. Even if his cultivation was stronger than theirs, it wouldn't be by much. But now, looking at Wang Yu again, everyone felt that they were looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. What was a gap? A gap was a gap that made you lose the will to resist when you see your opponent. Meow, no wonder this brat was called an unparalleled genius that only appeared once in 100 years. To be able to obtain the recognition of so many people, it was definitely not boasting. At this moment, the person with the ugliest expression was pure ice and jade. The reason why this girl was so respectful towards Ji San was because she had lost to him 3 times in a row. She was deeply aware that Ji San's strength was unparalleled, and he was a well-known figure among the younger generation. But such an expert was actually thrown back, without even being able to exchange a single move. This, Pure Ice and Jade's mood suddenly became incomparably chaotic. Pure Ice and Jade was an extremely arrogant horse. She had only lowered her head to the strong her entire life. At this moment, seeing that the enemy who had once humiliated her had actually become so strong, not only did she feel indignant, she suddenly felt that Wang Yu wasn't that annoying anymore. Even thinking about how this guy had almost married her, this girl's face even turned a little red. Damn, is this the legendary masochist? A woman's heart was really unfathomable and impossible. Ji Shi-san, who had been beaten by Wang Yu to the point of doubting his life, had also slowly regained his senses. Now, the gaze he used to look at Wang Yu was filled with disbelief. He couldn't help but point at Wang Yu and said, "How could this be? I've been painstakingly cultivating my skills for so many years without stopping. How could there be such a big gap? This isn't fair." Indeed, everyone's age was similar, and they were all working hard. If the gap was just a little bit, it was reasonable. After all, the opponent was a publicly recognized genius. But now, it was obvious that the gap between everyone was calculated by realm. This made Ji Shi-san somewhat unable to accept it. Hee. Upon hearing this, Wang Yu sneered and said, "If hard work is useful, what's the point of having a genius? If the gap between us isn't that big, then it's really unfair to me." TSK. Is this still the old cow? Upon hearing Wang Yu's words, everyone from the Chuanjin sect sighed. They didn't expect that Wang Yu, who had always treated people modestly, would actually have such a vicious mouth when he spoke. This guy's temper when he woke up really wasn't ordinary. An expert like Ji Shi-san was also very conceited. After hearing Wang Yu's vicious words, he immediately said angrily, "I don't believe it. You must have used some kind of trick in the game. Let's fight again." As he spoke, Ji Shi-san once again rushed in front of Wang Yu. His palms formed claws, and he swung them continuously, aiming at Wang Yu's upper, middle, and lower body. Wang Yu did not panic. His hands moved up and down to block, not showing the slightest bit of difficulty. At that time, Wang Yu seized a gap in Ji Shi-san's defense and lightly tapped the tip of his foot, kicking Ji Shi-san's lower abdomen. Ji Shi-san cried out and fell to the ground. It was a martial artist's duty to stop when necessary. When Wang Yu saw Ji Shi-san fall to the ground, he naturally stopped. However, Ji Shi-san was naturally furious after being knocked down twice in a row. When he saw that Wang Yu had stopped, he slammed his hands on the ground and flipped over. His feet suddenly kicked up toward Wang Yu's face from below. Wang Yu frowned and kicked Ji Shi-san's chest. Once again, Ji Shi-san was kicked to the ground. After Ji Shi-san was kicked down, Wang Yu followed closely behind and pressed his knee against Ji Shi-san's back. "Alright, you can go and die now." Facing this kind of despicable guy, Wang Yu could not be bothered to talk nonsense either. He swung his fist and smashed toward Ji Shi-san's head. Chapter 1101. At the same time, the owner of the spear, Pure Ice, pointed at Wang Yu and shouted, "Everyone, attack together." Wang Yu's reaction was extremely fast. The moment Pure Ice's spear stabbed towards him, he had already sensed it. Before Pure Ice's spear could reach him, he tilted his head slightly to the side and avoided the tip of Pure Ice's spear. Pure Ice didn't wait for the attack to arrive. She grabbed the end of the spear with both hands and swung it from left to right. The spear whistled through the air as it swung towards Wang Yu's head. In the blink of an eye, Wang Yu leaned to the side and avoided Pure Ice's horizontal sweep. At the same time, he pressed his arms against the ground and his body flew into the air. His legs kicked backwards at an extremely fast speed. The spear was originally a piercing weapon. If it was a horizontal sweep, it would take a long time to recover. Before Pure Ice could retract her attack, Wang Yu's legs had already landed on Pure Ice's chest. In a panic, Pure Ice hurriedly threw away her spear and used both hands to deflect the force. However, Wang Yu's kick was very powerful. How could a woman like her easily block it? Bang! With a muffled sound, glacial jade was sent flying by the kick. Seeing a beautiful girl like Pure Ice get kicked into such a miserable state, everyone clenched their fists and cursed, "Damn, you animal!" Just as Wang Yu was about to rush over and give her a kick, Nian Luyun and the others had already rushed in front of Wang Yu. The 5 of them took up positions in front of Wang Yu. Seeing Nian Luyun and the others rushing forward, Chuanjun was unhappy. He immediately rushed forward and stood behind Wang Yu with his weapon. Mingdu condensed lightning on his staff and pointed it at Nian Luyun. "Damn! You want to fight me with numbers? I'll fight you anytime." Everyone had seen Radiant Doe's magic damage. Seeing the lightning crackling on Yaya's staff, Nian Luyun and the others retreated a few steps with dark expressions. It couldn't be helped. If Mingdu was alone, no one would be afraid. But now there was Wang Yu. If they fought, Mingdu just had to casually toss out a spell, and no one would be able to withstand it. In the game, there was only life and death. There was no such thing as heavy injuries. Even if a player was left with a sliver of health, as long as they didn't die, they would still be alive and kicking. At that time, Pure Ice and Ji Shirsan had already returned to the party. She sneered at Wang Yu. With your status, do you still need help from a group of gaming geeks?" Wang Yu looked at Pure Ice and the others, then turned back to look at Wuji and the others. "You go help World Apocalypse, leave this to me." "It can't be, old cow. You fell for such a low-level provocation?" Everyone was surprised. Wang Yu laughed. "It's all right. There's not much difference if they attack together or alone." Hearing Wang Yu's words, everyone almost spat out a mouthful of blood. In the eyes of ordinary players, these kung fu experts were superhuman. In the eyes of Chuanjun's experts, they didn't expect that they were no different from those small fries that could be killed instantly by Wang Yu. What was awesome? That was not bad. This answer was very Wang Yu's. Currently, the mercenaries surrounding the Chuanjun sect had already followed the whole world of Windcloud to the entrance. Since it was the end of the world, they were already feeling a little uneasy. Now that reinforcements had arrived, 9 Solitary Spear and the rest would definitely be in a more difficult situation. Chuanjun and World Apocalypse were not on good terms, but since Dugu Jiuqiang was here to help, Chuanjun would naturally not stand by and do nothing. Both guilds were despicable and shameless, but they would never owe each other a favor. "Then take care of yourself." Thinking of this, Wuji waved to the others and ran toward the entrance of World Alliance's encampment. At this moment, only Wang Yu and Pure Ice's group were left at the resurrection point. Seeing that Chuanjun's group had left, Pure Ice and the others turned their attention back to Wang Yu. Wang Yu smiled and hooked his finger at the others. "Come at me together. Arrogant!" Ji Shirsan clenched his fists and shouted. He threw a punch at Nyeyan's head. This was a proper cannon punch. With Ji Shirsan's physique, it was better for him to walk the path of violence. Wang Yu took a step forward and blocked Ji Shirsan's fist. He exerted force in his arms and punched Ji Shirsan's chest. Ji Shirsan groaned and passed away. At this moment, Dao Po and the other 3 had already surrounded Wang Yu and were attacking him with their fists. Wang Yu used his movement technique, twisting and turning as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. At the same time, he stretched out his hands slowly. Although it looked light and powerless, he blocked all of their fists in an instant. In just one round, everyone instantly knew that Wang Yu was unfathomable. Their faces all revealed expressions of terror, so they hurriedly withdrew their fists. However, for some unknown reason, everyone discovered that no matter how hard they tried, it was as if they were stuck, and they couldn't exert the slightest bit of strength. They couldn't even exert any strength, let alone withdraw their fists. Since they could not retract their fists, they could only attack. The four of them made up their minds and pushed forward with all their might. However, Wang Yu loosened his hands and twisted his body slightly. The direction of their fists instantly changed, and they hit each other. At the same time, Wang Yu hit the top of their heads with 4 palms, turning them into white light. Sure enough, as Wang Yu said, even if these people attacked together, the gap was not big. If the opponent was an ordinary expert player who was using game skills, Wang Yu, as a novice gamer, might have a headache because she didn't know much about foreign things. But what kind of people were Pure Ice, Pure Jade, and the others? They learned Kung Fu. Looking at the Kung Fu circle, who knew this craft better than Wang Yu? These Kung Fu kids bullied ordinary people, but in front of a master like Wang Yu was more proficient in the fist techniques they learned than them. It was not an exaggeration to say that as long as they raised their hands, Wang Yu knew what they were doing and where to hit. These people's skills in front of Wang Yu were not the slightest bit technical and unexpected. There was no other way, the gap between the realm of the same profession was too big, there would be such a crushing effect. Therefore, for Wang Yu, it was easier to deal with these people than to deal with ordinary players. After all, only Kung Fu could defeat Kung Fu. From the moment Ji Shi-san took the initiative to reveal that the 4 of them were all killed, only a few seconds had passed. After easily killing 5 people, only Pure Ice Jade and Yen Luyun were left alive. Pure Ice and Yen Luyun could see that Wang Yu was a walking dictionary of Kung Fu. There were only things that were not in the books, and there was nothing that Wang Yu did not know. It was like there was an answer in an exam. It was simply shameless. Plus, with such a high gap in cultivation, wanting to use Kung Fu to defeat Wang Yu was no different from a fool's dream. It seemed that they could only use moves that Wang Yu was not familiar with to have any hope of winning. Humph! Chapter 1102. Seeing the spear flying towards him, Wang Yu stretched out his hand to catch it. At the same time, Yen Luyun flew out and rushed in front of Wang Yu. She waved her right hand and a handful of sand flew out. Sand toss. A rare skill of grandmasters of combat. Not only did it have a long attack range, it could also blind and slow the target. It was a rather despicable skill. As a grandmaster of combat, Wang Yu was no stranger to this skill. He calmly drew a circle in the air with his left hand, and a chi wave shield appeared out of thin air, blocking Yen Luyun's skill. However, just as Wang Yu blocked the attack with his hands, Yen Luyun arched her body and stretched out her hands. Leaving a trail of afterimages behind her, she slid in front of Wang Yu and pulled Wang Yu into her arms. As a grappler class, Flowing Cloud had no lack of grab skills. This sliding grab was one such grab skill that could be activated from afar. This skill had the fast-paced skill frequency of a grandmaster of combat, as well as the ability to teleport over a short distance. Coupled with the high priority of a grab skill, it was a very strong PK skill. Wang Yu was caught off guard and was caught by Yen Luyun. If she had grabbed someone else, Yen Luyun would definitely have followed up with a combo and died. However, Yen Luyun knew how strong Wang Yu was. If there was a gap, he could escape. So, after grabbing Wang Yu, Yen Luyun did not cancel the skill. Instead, she tightly controlled Wang Yu. At that time, Glacial Jade descended from the sky and used Eagle Stamp to stomp on Wang Yu's head. Bang! With a muffled sound, Glacial Jade, who had stepped on Wang Yu, felt the ground under her feet disappear. Before Eagle Stamp could land a second time, Glacial Jade hurriedly stabilized herself and looked down. She saw that Wang Yu had exploded and disappeared. All that was left under her feet was a confused Yen Luyun. It's doppelganger explosion. Get out of the way. Seeing this, Pure Ice Jade was shocked. She took out a great spear from her bag and stabbed it into the ground. Using the recoil, she flew backwards. However, before Pure Ice could land on the ground, Pure Ice felt a sharp aura behind him. At the same time, he heard a voice beside his ear. I knew you would fly backwards. It was Wang Yu. Before Pure Ice could fly backwards, Wang Yu had already arrived behind Pure Ice's landing spot. Pure Ice Jade didn't have any flying skills, nor did she know any qigong. It was too late for her to change her flight path. As he spoke, Wang Yu gripped the great spear that he had just snatched from Pure Ice Jade's hands. He stood firmly in a horse stance, and with a shake of his arms, he swung the spear in a strange arc, and swung it at Pure Ice Jade's back. Humph! This time Wang Yu had come prepared. Whether it was the angle or the strength, they were all perfect. Pure Ice lost her balance. Pure Ice and Jade was like a baseball that was sent flying. Even the sound of her chest could be heard. After flying a few meters in the air, she fell heavily to the ground. Big sister! Compared to the strong Pure Ice Jade, Nian Liuyun's personality was more gentle, but she wasn't a pushover. Now that her older sister had been hit, Nian Liuyun's anger rushed to her head. She leapt forward and grabbed at Wang Yu. How many times do I have to tell you, you can't play like this? Seeing that Nian Liyun was still overly reliant on her game skills, Wang Yu sighed. He stabbed the great spear in his hand into the ground, extended his hand, and used ferocious tiger strike to grab at her. Wang Yu had a tall and sturdy body with long arms and legs. Even though Nian Liyun's hand was only a few dozen centimeters away from Wang Yu's hand was already on her face. Go down! Wang Yu shouted and exerted strength in his hand. Nian Liyun was in midair when Wang Yu grabbed her face and pressed her to the ground. Nian Liyun cried out in pain as the back of her head made contact with the ground. Then, Wang Yu followed up with a stomp and crushed her head. There was no helping it. Nian Liyun's short legs were jumping around in front of a big guy like Wang Yu. She was asking for it. By the time Wang Yu finished off Nian Liyun, Pure Ice had already stood up. She grabbed her spear, and with a shake of the spear tip, she stabbed at Wang Yu from multiple directions. Seeing this, Wang Yu jumped back and kicked back with his right foot. The spear behind him flew into his hand. At the same time, he grabbed the end of the spear with one hand and turned around. His spear thrust out and stabbed back. Dang! 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 The two spears intertwined with each other, letting out a clear clanging sound. With every clear clang, Pure Ice would take a step back. By the 9th step, Pure Ice's hands were numb, and she could no longer hold her weapon. At the same time, Wang Yu's spear tip was pressed against Pure Ice's throat. This is the 9 Dragons Cloud Searching Spear? Seeing Wang Yu's spear technique, Pure Ice's face was filled with shock. There was no other expression on her face. Everyone knew that every sect had their own unique techniques that were not taught to outsiders. For example, the Yang clan's 7 Astral Step. This was a secret technique that only the Li clan knew. This 9 Dragons Cloud Searching Spear was also one of the 4 great aristocratic families' Li clan's secret technique. Even Nian Liyun, the only child, was not qualified to learn it, let alone outsiders. But now Wang Yu was casually using it. How could Pure Ice not be surprised? Oh! Wang Yu was stunned. So this is the legendary 9 Dragons Cloud Searching Spear. I merely learned your spear technique and stabbed it back. What? Hearing Wang Yu's words, Pure Ice's mind was buzzing. She was completely dumbfounded. The so-called ultimate technique was naturally difficult to learn. The 9 Dragons Cloud Searching Spear was the Li clan's ultimate technique. It was even more difficult. Nian Liyun was already a rare expert among the younger generation. Even he did not have the right to learn it. It was clear how difficult it was. Listening to Wang Yu's words, this brat only saw it once and learned it. Not only that, the spear technique that Wang Yu used was even more refined and experienced than Pure Ice's. Whether it was strength or style, it had reached the realm of perfection. Just like the saying, one look and you'll know, one use and you'll be proficient. If she hadn't experienced it herself, Pure Ice and Jade wouldn't have believed it even if she was beaten to death, that there was such a talented person in this world. Motherf***Pure Ice and Jade suddenly began to doubt life. But what Wang Yu said next was even more heart-wrenching. Wang Yu rubbed his chin. Even though this technique is exquisite, it's too complicated. It's not easy to learn. Motherf *Ker, you learned it in one look and you say it's not easy? Pure Ice clenched her fist. If it wasn't for Wang Yu's spear pointing at her throat, she would have gone to fight Wang Yu with her life. If I only kept the first and third spear, it would be much easier. Twin Dragon's cloud-searching spear isn't bad either. As Wang Yu spoke, he pulled the spear back from Pure Ice's throat and gestured a few times. Her family's ultimate technique was humiliated. No one could tolerate it. Pure Ice was about to retaliate against Wang Yu, but seeing Wang Yu's simplified spear technique, Pure Ice was once again dumbfounded. Chapter 1103. Kung Fu was a killing technique, so it naturally had to be simple and practical. People who used the beauty of moves to evaluate a Kung Fu were all amateurs. As an expert, Pure Ice could naturally see that after Wang Yu simplified it, the Nine-Dragon Cloud exploring spear's practicality and explosiveness were much simpler than before. And it was also very easy to use. In the Li family, the best fighter might be someone else, but the highest level of martial arts was definitely not the elder ancestor who created this spear technique. But Wang Yu had only seen it once, and was able to improve such a complicated spear technique. From this, it could be seen that Wang Yu's level of cultivation was even higher than the Li elder ancestor. How is this possible? Her outlook on life had been flipped upside down. Pure Ice couldn't accept it. She raised her spear and stabbed at Wang Yu. Wang Yu leaned to the side, and his left hand grabbed Pure Ice's spear and pulled it back. Pure Ice was dragged in front of Wang Yu. At the same time, Wang Yu raised his right elbow and hit Pure Ice's face. Pure Ice's body froze, and she sat on the ground in shock. This move was one of the most basic moves of Bajiquan. The most outstanding disciple of the Li family, holding a weapon, was defeated by an outsider using their most basic fist technique. How ironic. Hee. Looking at Pure Ice sitting on the ground, Wang Yu smiled faintly. You want to challenge me? You're still far from it. After saying that, Wang Yu no longer cared about icy Pure Jade, turned around and ran towards the door. Pure Ice looked at Wang Yu's back with a complicated expression, her eyes filled with loneliness. Sis, are you okay? At this time, Nian Luyun and the others had revived. Seeing Pure Ice sitting on the ground with a blank expression, they quickly surrounded her. I still have my pride, Pure Ice said absent-mindedly. What? Everyone was stunned. Nian Luyun said anxiously. What did that Wang guy do to you? I'm not done with him. Enough. Pure Ice poked Nian Luyun's head with her finger. Stop bullshitting. Let's go. You're leaving now? Aren't you going to take revenge? Seeing that Pure Ice Jade had changed her mind, the shock on everyone's face was no less than when Pure Ice Jade saw Wang Yu use his Nine-Dragon Cloud searching spear. For the past 2 years, Pure Ice and Jade had been aiming for this. If Wang Yu couldn't give her an explanation, she would probably be stuck with him for the rest of her life. Icy Pure Jade shook her head in self-mockery and laughed. What revenge? She's not the same kind of person as us, so it's reasonable that she doesn't like me. I'm just thinking too much. Let's go. Pure Ice Jade heroine was a proud and aloof person. In her eyes, only the strong had the right to choose. In the past, the reason why she was against Wang Yu wasn't because of something as cliché as turning love into hate, but because she felt that she wasn't any weaker than Wang Yu. Even if she wanted to break off the engagement, she had to say it herself. The one with the surname Wang didn't deserve to treat her like that. However, now that she had seen Wang Yu's abilities, Pure Ice realized that she had been looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. For a strong person like Wang Yu, it was reasonable for him to look down on her. Of course, Clear Ice Jade's way of thinking was just using herself to measure others. The reason why Wang Yu broke off the engagement wasn't because she looked down on anyone. Clear Ice Jade's way of thinking where the strong ruled was indeed a little too simple and crude in this civilized society. But that was fine too. The knot in this girl's heart was finally resolved. In the future, she probably wouldn't come and provoke Wang Yu and the others. Seeing Pure Ice's expression as if she had seen through the world, Ji San whispered to Nian Luoyun, "Your sister's brain must have been broken by that bastard. I won't forgive him." Nian Luoyun was furious. She turned around and was about to fight it out with Wang Yu. Pure Ice pulled Nian Luoyun's ear back and said gently, "Stop fooling around. I'll teach you 2 moves of the 9 Dragons Cloud Exploring Spear when we get back." For real? Nian Luoyun's thoughts were immediately pulled back when she heard Pure Ice's words. For real? I thought I couldn't learn it. It's just 2 moves. You can learn it. As they spoke, they stepped into the World Alliance's guild teleportation point and disappeared in a flash of white light. At the same time, Wang Yu had also rushed to the entrance of the encampment. The World Alliance's encampment's defense was built with RMB. One could imagine how strong it was. The wizards were able to defend against so many people at the end of the world by relying on their advantage in defense. At this time, with the addition of other mercenaries, relying on the powerful defensive equipment, it was not difficult for them to attack from above and fight against 10 enemies at once. Even Li Shui and the other girls could stand on top of the wall and throw down potions, and they could still resist the enemy's charge, let alone these expert players. After all, attacking a city and defending it were 2 different concepts. This was especially true in the game. The players attacking the encampment could not use the method of cutting off food and water supply to deplete the players in the encampment. On the contrary, the encampment had a teleportation point and a resurrection point that led directly to the main city. Compared to the players outside the encampment, they had more supplies. Even if the players died, they could quickly be replenished at the resurrection point. The players attacking the encampment could not do so. In a remote location like the World Alliance's encampment, potion replenishment was a huge problem. Now that the players died, they could directly resurrect in the main city. Apart from numbers, the attackers had no advantage at all. Although they had the help of Chuanjin's group, no matter how many tricks Chuanjin had up their sleeves, they still needed people to carry them out. Now, the people of the Quanzhen sect and the people of the Apocalypse, one was showing off while the other was showing off outside. There was simply no way for them to work together. Even if Wuji had 100 tactics to attack the encampment, it would be difficult to implement them. Moreover, World Alliance had experts. Although the 12 constellations were not as strong as Pure Ice and Jade's group, they could still fight against Chuanjin. Chuanjin would be lucky if they were able to survive. They did not dare to hope for more. At this moment, a few of them squatted in a corner and covered their faces, acting as cheerleaders. Fortunately, these mercenaries did not know each other. Otherwise, with so many people in a mess, Chuanjin would inevitably suffer casualties. "Brothers, get your weapons and charge. Kill this bunch of trash." Everyone shouted and spammed the guild channel. Damn, whole Windcloud is really rich. They actually turned their encampment into this state. Doggun and the others probably won't be able to defeat them. Yeah. Wuji sighed, but this isn't the worst. There's something worse than this? Everyone looked askance. If they attacked another encampment and failed, they would still be punished for initiating a war. The defeated side would have to give up territory or pay compensation. The whole world of Windcloud was obviously a narrow-minded person. The end of the world was a thorn in the whole world of Windcloud's side. If the end of the world of Windcloud were to be defeated this time, it was likely that the whole world of Windcloud would suffer greatly. Chapter 1104. In Rebirth, the authority of a castellan was not that great. At most, it was similar to the guild leader of a large guild. The only difference was that there were more people to manage. Moreover, the players in the city did not listen to the castellan like a real guild. However, there was one thing that ensured the prestige of the Castellan, and that was the right to use the main city guards. Players knew how powerful the main city guards were. Although there were only 100 of them in a main city, having these guards was equivalent to having the strongest army. No matter how powerful a player was, they would not be able to do anything in front of these main city guards that represented the highest level of violence in the game. The compensation for defeat was only a financial loss. For a large guild with tens of thousands of people, compensation was a small matter. However, if they offended the Castellan, it would be a huge matter. The Apocalypse's base was in Heavenly Dragon City, and the players of the Apocalypse were the citizens of the whole of Windcloud. With this grudge, the whole of Windcloud would have to think twice if they wanted to survive in Heavenly Dragon City. After all, there was a difference between living under someone else's authority and being one's own master. With the whole of Windcloud in their hands, it would only take a single word for them to do anything to the Apocalypse. After all, since ancient times, rebellious bandits never had a good ending. TSK, TSK, TSK. Hearing Wuji's words, everyone clicked their tongues and sighed. Damn it, not only did you teach the whole of Windcloud a lesson, but you also ruined the Apocalypse. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Old dog Wuji, you're really a beast. Bullsh *t. Wuji said angrily. I'm not that kind of person. I didn't expect the whole of Windcloud to be so resilient, to be able to block so many people from the Apocalypse. Then what do we do now? Are we just going to leave? Everyone curled their lips and asked. As the saying goes, when 2 tigers fight, one is bound to be injured. The battle between Worlds Apocalypse and Worlds Alliance was so intense that it couldn't be stopped so easily. Unless there was a guild whose strength far surpassed that of the 2 guilds, it would be impossible to stop it. These people from Chuanjian could easily incite others to fight, but they were really amateurs when it came to mediating. They couldn't possibly ask the archers to perform a halberd shooting. Without an overwhelming advantage, even if he performed Ho-E shooting the sun, no one would care. Moreover, this matter started because of Chuanjian. If they were to stick their necks out, the first to die would probably be Chuanjian's men. Wuji coldly snorted and said, Doggun is benevolent and righteous. We can't be villains. We have to return this favor. But how are we going to pay it back? Everyone was helpless. Wuji's words were very reasonable, but who could control the current situation? For a moment, everyone was at a loss. If he retreated, he wouldn't be loyal. If he advanced, he would be helpless. Everyone played the game for the sake of loyalty. If he didn't even care about loyalty, it would mean that he had thrown away his bottom line. Such a person wouldn't have any friends even in the game. Of course, it wouldn't be difficult if the Apocalypse world was strong enough. Wuji and the rest had already planned it out. As long as Dugu Jiuqiang could bring people to break through the encampment, they could capture the whole of Windcloud once again and strip him naked. However, now that the Apocalypse had captured the whole of Windcloud, they couldn't even enter the encampment. What else could they do? Bang! Just when everyone was at their wits' end, a thunderous boom rang out as a burly figure suddenly descended from the sky and landed on the wall of World Alliance's guild residence. The figure's feet created a circle of white light as he stepped on the wall. F***ck, it's old cow. He took care of those kung fu guys so quickly? Seeing the descending figure, the Chuanjian members were stunned. As players who had fought with Pure Ice Jade's group before, the Chuanjian members knew how difficult it was to deal with Pure Ice Jade's group. However, in just a short while, Wang Yu had already taken care of those troublesome fellows. F***ck, he really wasn't human. Wang Yu's sudden descent shocked not only Chuanjian's group, but the mercenaries under the whole of Windcloud were also shocked. They quickly raised their heads and saw Wang Yu standing on the wall with an unfriendly expression. Seeing this terrifying face, everyone retreated as if their tails had been stepped on. Everyone, don't be afraid. Wang Yu waved his hand when he saw that the mercenaries were afraid of him. With an indifferent expression, he said, "My target is only the whole of Windcloud. The rest of you can leave." Hearing this, the mercenaries looked at each other. Then, they looked at the whole of Windcloud and the 12 constellations behind them with awkward expressions. Everyone was just trying to make a living. No one wanted to provoke a demon like Wang Yu. However, as a mercenary, credibility was the most important thing. If they did not do what they were paid to do, how were they going to survive in the game in the future? This was especially true for the mercenaries of the free cities. If they threw their boss out just because they were afraid of death, not only would their own reputation be ruined, if they really did that, they would be hunted down by all the mercenaries from both factions. They were just trying to make a living. How could they lose their jobs because of some experience points? Not retreating? Seeing that the mercenaries had no intention of leaving, Wang Yu frowned and asked. It was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. Even a hero could not fight against so many people. In this kind of terrain, if the mercenaries really wanted to go against Wang Yu would not be able to gain much of an advantage with so many well-equipped players. Right now, the mercenaries were only frightened, which was why they seemed weaker. Wang Yu was not an arrogant person. He naturally understood this point. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not want to fight the mercenaries directly. The mercenaries did not speak, nor did they move. It was obvious that they were silently resisting. Facing the fiendish Wang Yu, Feng Tianxia hid behind the 12 constellations and weakly shouted, "The one with the surname Tai, I have no enmity with you in the past. Why are you targeting me?" "Targeting you?" Wang Yu sneered. "Did you get someone to capture the people from Chuanjin?" The whole of Windcloud was speechless. The whole of Windcloud was not aware of the conflict between Crystal Jade and Wang Yu. However, it was true that they were funded by the whole of Windcloud to capture the people from Yu Huiqing. "They stole my equipment first." The whole of Windcloud thought for a while and explained. It seemed like the whole of Windcloud was really afraid of Wang Yu. If it was someone else, with the whole of Windcloud's temper, he would not have bothered to explain himself. Firepower was justice. Hee. Wang Yu sneered. "Let's not talk about whether the people from Chuanjin stole your equipment or not. My wife did not offend you, right? Why did you capture her?" "You're your wife? Who is it?" The whole of Windcloud was dumbfounded when he heard Wang Yu's words. The people who were captured from Chuanjin were all men. Could it be that this person had that kind of hobby? A level 15 knight. Chapter 1105. The rope tied to Mu Zixian had been cut and she would automatically leave the battle after 20 seconds. The players who were forced to go offline would automatically go offline as well. However, in all honesty, it was pure Ice's idea to kidnap Mu Zixian. After all, Mu Zixian was Wang Yu's wife. Even if Windcloud World was given 100 guts, he would not dare to do so. Windcloud World did not even have any impression of Mu Zixian. He turned to Rat and asked, "Is there the person he mentioned?" "This." Rat thought for a while and said, "There is indeed a female knight. F*ck me." Windcloud World said in horror, "Then what should we do?" Although Windcloud World did not know Wang Yu's temper, no one would be able to take it lying down after kidnapping someone's wife for no reason. Moreover, they were facing a demon. Blood would flow like a river. Sigh. Rat sighed, "We can only sacrifice the rook to save the king." Windcloud World was stunned and asked, "What do you mean?" "Return to the city," Rat whispered to Windcloud World. He then pointed at Wang Yu and ordered the mercenaries, "Get into formation." Following Rat's order, the mercenaries pulled into formation and set up a shield formation to confront Wang Yu. There was no other way. Since the boss had spoken, they had to fight no matter how much they did not want to. Seeing that the mercenaries were ready for battle, Wang Yu knew that he had to fight. He held his shield and rushed forward. "Attack!" At the same time, Rat also gave the order to attack. In a split second, the sky was filled with magic arrows that smashed towards Wang Yu. No matter how strong Wang Yu was, he was not immortal. Facing the attacks of hundreds of people, he could only defend himself despite having a divine weapon in hand. Under the continuous attacks of the mercenaries, Wang Yu retreated as he fought and found cover. Only then did he not get beaten to death. However, Wang Yu was also forced into a corner and could not move forward. Although Wang Yu was successfully repelled, the mercenaries were not in a good mood. Damn, he's not dead? Seeing that Wang Yu was still alive and kicking under the attacks of so many people, everyone's hearts were broken. That was an attack from a few hundred players. There was a boss standing on the other side and it had died. Was this guy really a player? At this moment, the whole of Windcloud took advantage of the fact that Wang Yu was trapped in a corner to sneak into the depths of the encampment under the protection of the 12 constellations. Wuji, who had been watching the battle from afar, was startled when he saw Heavenly Windcloud trying to escape. Not good. Whole of Windcloud wanted to sacrifice the rook to save the king. Go and help old cow. Although the mercenaries were temporarily suppressing Wang Yu, there were still tens of thousands of World's End players attacking the encampment. Currently, with Chuanzhen causing trouble internally and powerful enemies attacking externally, the whole of Windcloud knew that they had lost their momentum and their base was in a precarious situation. Rather than being captured and humiliated in the resurrection point, it was better to abandon the guild residence and return to the city. After all, there were guards in Heavenly Dragon City, and anyone could only flee at the mere sight of them. As the core leader of the 12 constellations, Rat's strategic foresight was quite impressive. However, he neglected the existence of Wuji. With such an obvious situation, how could Wuji not see it? As Wuji spoke, he waved his hand and gave Mingdo an invincible buff. Mingdo's figure flashed and he appeared not far away from the mercenaries. He started to bombard the mercenaries' formation. Mingdo's magic damage was extremely high, and the mercenaries' formation was instantly destroyed. At this moment, Wuji pointed at the whole of Windcloud and shouted, "Old cow, that bastard is trying to escape. We'll hold them back, you go and catch him." As he spoke, the Chuanzhen members swarmed forward and fought with the mercenaries. As Wang Yu held back the firepower, there was no one guarding the encampment. At this moment, Dugu Jiuqiang finally broke through the encampment's gate, and the World's End players swarmed in. Originally, these mercenaries could still block the gate and guard it. However, Wang Yu's appearance weakened everyone's morale, and Mingdu's bombardment caused everyone's morale to plummet. Now that the World's End had invaded the encampment, and their boss had slipped away, everyone's morale dropped. Although they were still stubbornly resisting, it was only for the sake of money, and they could no longer form an effective fighting force. At this moment, Wang Yu also activated his Qinggong, and with a few leaps, he landed beside the whole of Windcloud. "Stop him!" In a panic, the whole of Windcloud ordered the 12 constellations. The 12 constellations blocked in front of Wang Yu without a care for their own safety. Among them, the shield warrior, Tiger, raised his shield and charged over. Wang Yu, who was moving forward, leaned to the side and dodged the Tiger's charge without slowing down. When Tiger saw that Wang Yu had dodged it, he immediately cancelled his charge and turned around to slash. Wang Yu reacted quickly, and before Tiger could turn around, he had already extended his hands and used his knee strike skill to grab Tiger's belt from behind. He then grabbed Tiger and threw him into the 12 constellations. As a shield warrior, Tiger's body was rather clumsy. In addition, Wang Yu's throw was accurate, and the 12 constellations were instantly smashed to the ground. However, Wang Yu did not slow down because of the obstruction of the 12 constellations. When the 12 constellations were smashed to the ground, Wang Yu had already rushed to the back of the whole of Windcloud. With a slap of his left hand, a white light swept towards the whole of Windcloud. In the blink of an eye, the whole of Windcloud whistled, and a black dragon appeared behind the whole of Windcloud, blocking Wang Yu's cloud grasp. Wang Yu's eyes narrowed, and a chi wave was thrown under the black dragon's crotch, hitting the whole of Windcloud's head. With a flash of white light, the whole of Windcloud reappeared at the resurrection point. After the resurrection, the whole of Windcloud wiped the sweat off his forehead and jumped into the guild's teleportation point. The whole of Windcloud left, and the black dragon also disappeared in front of Wang Yu. Looking at the disappearing figure of the whole of Windcloud, Wang Yu coldly snorted, "Don't even think of escaping from my hands." F***ck. Just as Wang Yu was gloating over the fact that he had killed the whole of Windcloud, Wuji could not help but shout, "Old cow, why did you kill that bastard? To keep him alive for the new year?" Wang Yu was stunned for a moment and then asked, "Haha, thank you, God Ox, for your help." Seeing that the whole of Windcloud had escaped, Rat laughed at Wang Yu and then shouted, "The boss is safe, everyone, follow me." After saying that, Rat led the mercenaries into the guild encampment. Seeing that the whole of Windcloud's underlings had retreated, Wang Yu was once again dumbfounded. "What's going on? What's going on?" Wuji anxiously said, "Didn't you see that they no longer intend to keep this encampment? Once they return to Celestial Dragon City, we won't be able to kill them anymore." I thought it was something serious. Hearing Wuji's words, Wang Yu came to a realization and said with a smile, "Even if they return to Celestial Dragon City, they won't be able to escape. There are guards in Celestial Dragon City. Don't tell me you can find a group of guards too?" Wuji curled his lips and asked. Chapter 1106. Old cow, are you sure? Hearing Wang Yu's words, everyone revealed doubtful expressions. No one could deny that Wang Yu was strong. However, no matter how strong he was still a player. Compared to the guards, there was still a huge difference. Even if Wang Yu had the identity of Castellan Yu Huiqing, he could not possibly order the guards of another main city. That was illogical, all right? Wang Yu smiled and said, "Of course I'm sure." Following Wang Yu's words, a system announcement rang in the sky. Announcement: Castellan Yu Huiqing, Iron Ox, has declared war on Heavenly Dragon City. This is the prelude to the conquest of the world. Seeing the system announcement, Chuanjin and the others immediately reacted. As the only players who had experienced a city war, Chuanjin and the others naturally knew the rules of a city war. A city war was a battlefield for the players. As the third party, the guards did not have to work during the siege. Otherwise, there would be no need for the players to defend the city. As long as the guards guarded the 4 gates of the main city, even if the Celestial King or the Demon King descended, they would not be able to enter the city. The reason why Fengyan Tianxia and the others chose to return to the city was because they planned to rely on the guards' advantage to deal with Chuanjin and the players of the Apocalypse. However, Fengyan Tianxia did not expect that Wang Yu would declare war on Heavenly Dragon City and give all the guards a day off. The announcement was repeated 3 times in the system. Instantly, all the players who were still online at this time were stunned. Damn, could this be the legendary siege war? Who would have thought that there would be such a good show in the middle of the night? Instantly, the sleepy players woke up and started gossiping. When the players of Heavenly Dragon City received the news, they were dumbfounded. Why would someone suddenly attack the city? It was too sudden. At this moment, the players of Heavenly Dragon City started to discuss the city that suddenly declared war on Heavenly Dragon City. Damn! Someone has declared war on us? Speaking of which, why does Yu Huiqing sound so familiar? Of course! It's the city that resisted all the attacks from the Light faction. You know Iron Ox, right? He's the world's #1 Grandmaster of Combat. I heard that he can massacre an entire city by himself. Hiss! The players of Heavenly Dragon City gasped when they heard that their opponent was so fierce. Normally, at this time, most players would have gone to bed except for those who stayed up all night. Moreover, Sky Dragon City had just experienced a massacre. There was a severe loss of players. Originally, there were hundreds of thousands of players, but now there were less than 100,000, and most of them were the kind that could not be moved. Now that they heard that their opponent was a powerful opponent like Yuhui City, Heavenly Dragon City's players could not help but panic. This was especially so for the players who had just invaded the World Alliance. They were completely dumbfounded when they saw the announcement. This situation was completely wrong. He was helping the Quanzhen sect deal with the World Alliance. Why did the Quanzhen sect suddenly make such a move? Didn't this mean that everyone was a traitor? The game was different. They were helping Quanzhen to deal with Heaven Alliance. Why did Quanzhen suddenly do this? Were they traitors? The game was not as harsh as reality. There were not many ways to force someone to betray them. It was embarrassing to be a traitor in a game. He rushed to the front, pointed at Wuji, and scolded, "Old dog Wuji, I helped you deal with the World Alliance, but you backstabbed me?" He rushed to the front and pointed at Wuji. "Old dog Wuji, I helped you to deal with Heaven Alliance, but you backstabbed me? Are you blind?" Wuji retorted. "How would you know that I backstabbed you?" This, Dugu Jiuqiang looked in the direction that Wuji was pointing at and saw Wang Yu. Instantly, Dugu Jiuqiang's heart sank. His anger subsided. He said carefully, Niu Shen, this is against the rules." "Against the rules? Why is it against the rules?" Wang Yu raised his eyebrows. 9 Dugu Spears said, "No matter what, I'm still a member of Heavenly Dragon City. No matter how fierce the fight between me and World Alliance is, it's still an internal conflict in Heavenly Dragon City. You stirring things up like this is very damaging to our guild's reputation." Indeed, the Apocalypse and Heaven Alliance were both guilds of Heavenly Dragon City. They were like brothers. No matter how much they disliked each other, it was their own business. If an outsider came to mess things up, they had to work together to deal with the outsider. Otherwise, they would be looked down upon. It was obvious that as long as Heavenly Wind Cloud fanned the flames, the Apocalypse's reputation of pulling an outsider to snatch their main city would be established. At that time, the Apocalypse's reputation would be tarnished. Traitors would never have a good ending. "Oh, you're talking about this matter. It's simple." Wang Yu smiled. "My goal is to teach Heavenly Wind Cloud a lesson. I'm not interested in your Heavenly Dragon City." Wang Yu was not good at socializing, but he was also an intelligent person. His mind was very clear. How could Wang Yu not understand Dugu Jiuqiang's meaning? If Wang Yu and his group defeated the Heavenly Wind Cloud with Dugu Jiuqiang's help and took Heavenly Dragon City, Dugu Jiuqiang and his group would become heartless and dishonorable people. However, their goal was to take care of the Heavenly Wind Cloud and not in Heavenly Dragon City. Compared to Dugu Jiuqiang, the Heavenly Wind Cloud was just a nobody in Heavenly Dragon City. If this nobody suddenly became the city lord, there would definitely be a lot of people who would not accept it. Therefore, it was reasonable for Heavenly Wind Cloud to oppose it. As long as Heavenly Dragon City did not fall into the hands of an outsider, it would be a different story. For example, with the help of Quanzhen, Dugu Jiuqiang annihilated the city robbers. Heavenly Wind Cloud took over Heavenly Dragon City. This could also be considered a good story. Really? Hearing Wang Yu's promise, Dugu Jiuqiang was overjoyed. "Of course." Wang Yu nodded. "You should have been the city lord." However, Heavenly Wind Cloud succeeded in some matters. "That's great." Dugu Jiuqiang clenched his fist, but he quickly became dispirited. "We are obviously not enough to attack the city." "Humph!" Wuji snorted. "We walked around your Heavenly Dragon City during the day. It's obvious that there are fewer people than the other main cities." "This," Dugu Jiuqiang said embarrassedly, "didn't Heavenly Dragon City just get massacred? Almost everyone left. Isn't that right?" At this point in time, besides your guild, which guild has more people? Wuji asked again. Dugu Jiuqiang thought for a moment. To move unhindered the miners. They work day and night. To move unhindered was a group of professional players. They paid no attention to the outside world and worked wholeheartedly in the mines. Whether the main city got massacred or not had nothing to do with them. Therefore, they were also players who stayed behind. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.